Hi, I'm Christian Marr with the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation, and this is I suppose it's technically day 3 of Crawford Gives since we started early with an early bird day of giving on Saturday. And if you can see behind me, there's a leaderboard of gifts, which total a little more than $268,000, which was about $250,000 a few minutes ago. And so the numbers are steadily rising. We are broadcasting live thanks to Luke Rio and his Lightning Strike Productions from the Morning Drill Stream TV studio in Titusville above the Farmers National Bank building. And with me this morning is Emily Weaver. Emily is new-ish.
Yeah, newish.
With the Friends of the Drake Well and raising money for the mission of the Drake Well Museum. So can you tell us a little bit more about what you're looking to accomplish, what the organization does?
Sure. Friends of Drake Well is the nonprofit, community-based organization that serves to support Drake Well Museum and Park. We support the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission in the operation and administration of Drake Well Museum. And we've done that for many, many years at this point, over 40 years. I think it was actually 40 years this year that Friends of Drake Well has been in existence. So what that means is we raise funding for many different projects, particularly educational programs. We want to be able to make sure that those continue at Drake Well. Interpretations, so if exhibits need to be updated or there's a major exhibit coming in that needs, financial assistance, then we can help with that. So anything that we can do to make Drake Well better, to keep the doors open, to raise awareness about what Drake Well Museum is about, why it's important, that's what we're there for. So with Crawford Gives, this year we're trying to raise $5,000, that's our goal. And with that funding, we're going to use it towards transportation costs for schools. So one of the great traditions of Drake Well Museum is school tours. They've been having school children come to visit the museum and park for many, many years. When I was out at Oil Fest recently in Titusville, I don't know how many folks came up to me and said, I remember visiting there when I was in elementary school, and I was talking to folks who were as young as 20 years old and as old as like 70 years old. Oh, so it's a good tradition, and we want to keep that tradition alive. However, what we have noticed in the last few years is a lot of schools are declining to come because of the transportation costs involved. So we want to be able to help alleviate some of that so that we can continue to have school children come. So we received a grant a couple years ago through another community organization that helped us in paying for transportation costs for Venango County schools, and that went really well. However, we were starting to notice that most of the schools who would like assistance are schools that are not within our area. So for example, we had some schools like from Erie County, for example, that had said, is there any way that you can help us with some of our transportation? So that's when we were thinking, let's try to open that up a little bit more to all area schools, or really any school that wants to come and visit Drake Well and help them with that cost. So that's what we're trying to accomplish here today with Crawford Gives, and we've already had some donations coming in, so that's good. Yeah.
So you're getting a little closer to your goal.
Yeah, we're getting there, yeah. But there's still time, and I hope that people are still considering to give to Friends of Drake Well and a lot of the other organizations that are, participating. So
is there anything that people might not know about what Friends of Drake Well does that we really need to educate people about as far as the mission goes and why it's kind of essential to our area?
I think the thing that confuses folks the most about Drake Well Museum and Park is who actually runs it.
That confused me for a long while.
Yeah, who was it? It was just this morning I had somebody say, now this is operated by Titusville, right? I'm like, oh no, but that's a very, that question is very usual. It's commonplace to have people say, I'm not quite sure how things work down here. So Drake Well Museum and Park has been owned and operated by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission, for many years. But with every state museum or state site or any government-operated site, you typically have a nonprofit 501c3 organization that's there to support it for fundraising purposes. So, for example, the site administrator, he can't really go out and try to do fundraising, but that's something that I can do, that the Friends of Drake Well can do. And that is what we do. So we do all of the fundraising. We work to get sponsors for some of our events, our exhibits, our programming. One of our very popular programs is the Wine and Wisdom lecture series that we have in March. And we have different speakers come in and talk about.
Yeah, I think Barry Cressman, who's my board president, did it last year.
Yeah, yep, he did it a couple years ago. We had some decent turnout this past year. We did some, and every year the topics change for the lecture series. So, but how do we make that possible? It's made possible through the support of Friends of Drake Well. So we had Drake Day this past weekend. How was that all made possible? Through the efforts of Friends of Drake Well, putting that together to try to get some folks down to the site to learn more about the importance of Drake Well. So, and of course, it's kind of interesting, Crawford Gives, well, technically it started early bird on Saturday, but yesterday was the official start date, and yesterday was also the 164th anniversary of Drake striking oil at his well here in Titusville in 1859. So, but yes, so I hope that kind of clears things up. It's a little interesting down there. We have different organizations that play, but we're really there to help support the museum and do fundraising and have these different programs and events available. So,
and I think going back to young people coming in and visiting the museum, the thing that school groups and things, young people really don't know where our energy comes from and how it's sourced and why it's even important that the Drake Well was first. What's the word? Spudded? Is that
drilled? We'll say drilled. Yes.
And really how that transformed not only the oil region around here, but really the entire world. Before that, it was all whale oil, blubber, and.
When I talk to groups, I like to. I mean, we still do the whole byline. First commercially successful drilled oil well, etc. But what we really like to bring home to folks who visit the site is that it's not just that it's like one of the first earliest drilled wells that's commercially successful, but it did launch an entire industry, and that industry is still very, very relevant today. It's still in the news every time you open up the paper or turn on the TV. People are talking about the oil industry
and
energy and everything. And a lot of the things that are in the industry today, pipelines, the first oil pipeline was here in Venango County, but it's all part of the oil region, Crawford County story. Right. So,
and to think about what the future holds for replacement of fossil fuels and all that, and you guys touch on all of those things too.
Oh yeah, we still like to be part of that conversation too, like trying to understand, how to move forward, or like our exhibits touch on everything, like the beginnings, the build up, how it becomes like a major industry, especially here in our area, and then how it starts to move out of our area and the energy conversations that we have today. So yes, we do like to try to touch on all of those things to have a well-rounded education of the history of the oil industry. So
cool, and you guys do a great job.
Thank you.
It's if you haven't visited, fantastic interactive displays. You can see everything in the past several hundred years.
Well, at risk of embarrassing myself, I started in February with my position at Friends of Drake Well. And I had been a student intern at Drake Well in 2007, during the summer of 2007.
Okay.
And when they brought me in earlier this year on my first day, the site administrator, Michael, he goes, "When was the last time you were here?" I'm like, I'm going to be honest. Right. I said, I haven't been here since I left as an intern. I said, I'm really excited to see it because in the time frame right after I left is when they did all the renovations, and I was blown away. And we have people say that all the time. People who haven't been there in a while, they come in and they're impressed because we do have a state-of-the-art museum right here in Titusville. So, yeah.
Well, Emily, thank you so
You're
much.
Welcome.
I
Thank
appreciate
you for
your
letting me come
patience
on.
this morning.
Yeah.
And hopefully folks will give to Friends of Drake Well during Crawford Gives, and if they have questions, they can call Emily or they can call check out the profile for Friends of
Yes.
Drakewell on the
I
Crawford
worked
Gives
hard
page.
on that profile. So.
We appreciate it. All right, thanks. And we're going to bring our next person in.
Okay.
Crawford Heritage Community Foundation here talking about Crawford Gives, and we're only a few days into this program, and we will run Crawford Gives through midnight on Tuesday, tomorrow. Excuse me. With me this morning is Ashley English from the YWCA of Titusville, and Ashley's getting ready to teach Zumba, so which, as a former fitness instructor myself, I know how important these things are.
Gotta be on time.
You have to be. And so the YWCA does everything. You do fitness, you have childcare. What else are you all?
So we always say we have two core programs. We have our housing program, which houses homeless women and their children. So we bring them in and we can help them with shelter as well as case management, rental assistance, just making sure that if there's been a setback, they can get back on their feet and back into their own dwelling. We know that right now, really, it's a national problem that there is a housing shortage. It's not just in Titusville. It's not just Northwest Pennsylvania. There is rents are high, and people are struggling to maintain housing situations. So we're pretty busy at the shelter as usual. We find a lot of times that women need to stay a little longer than they traditionally have just to get in to those their own homes or their own apartments. We also find that they there's a great deal of need that's going on right now, and it's a lot of mental health. Sometimes when people come into shelter, sometimes they're recovering from drug and alcohol. They're trying to get their lives back on track. Some have had health issues. There's a whole myriad of different reasons why people end up homeless, but wanting to make sure that them and their kids are on the right track and back where they need to be, or sometimes they're in substandard housing and they just can't stay there anymore. It's just not safe to be in the places where they're at. So we work hard to make sure that we're providing a safe, supportive environment to help women get back to where they need to be for themselves. We also have our Fun Factory program, which is a preschool program for 3 to 5 year olds. It is a great way for kids to start their life into the lifelong learning, we like to say.
And great staff.
We have, oh my goodness, we have absolutely great staff with Amy and Lacey and Jamie and Cricket, or not Cricket, Catherine. You'll talk to Cricket later.
We'll talk to Cricket later.
But I was seeing Catherine and saying Cricket. So they're a great team, and kids absolutely have the best time at Fun Factory. And then we have all of our sideline programs that we do. And we're not a fitness facility by any stretch. We don't try to say that we are, but we want to make sure that we're offering some things that are very affordable so that everybody can participate in being active. And we do tailor most of our things to women. So whether it's yoga or a little bit of dancing and fitness, and weightlifting. We do have those options. September is our membership drive month, and for just $30 a month, $30 a year, you can be a member at the YWCA and participate in those programs, and those programs with your membership. It's free. So, we have a little workout room. Like I said, we are not a fitness center, and we're not trying to be. That's, we're not Planet Fitness, and we're not trying to be that, but we want to offer some options. We also do tons of programming with kids in the fall. We've got 70 little girls that are coming out to cheer right now. And really that program isn't about developing great cheerleaders. We're not looking, to have a competitive team. I was just saying on Saturday, we started a game, and this one little girl came and was hiding behind her mother, and she was afraid. And eventually she came and sat with me on the bench while the other girls were cheering. And by the end of the game, she was up cheering. And that absolutely is a win, because it's about building confidence and self-esteem and making friends. And that's really what our goal is in being active. It's not about, that you can jump the highest or do those types of things. So,
well, if I remember correctly, your mission is empowering women, eliminating racism. So that goes right to the heart of what you do.
Absolutely. So those are the things that are most important to us with advocacy. We're always focusing on get out the vote, that, every person should be out there voting and supporting their democratic freedoms. We live in a democracy. Make sure you're taking advantage of that, and educating yourself on what's important to you and what candidates are supporting what you feel is important. So just a lot of different things. We'll come up on Fall Fest here in October. We do a Fall Fest. Dances for teens and tweens, usually that 4th, 5th, and 6th, 7th, 8th grade is where our sweet spot is of what we do with dances. We'll have our turkey trot in November, Thanksgiving Day. If you're dying for a 5K to start off your holiday, stop by. And then we just do a lot of different little programs here and there, trying to not duplicate what's being done by other organizations, but just kind of fit in, like, oh, this would be something that might be needed and kids might enjoy, whether it's crafts or science or Legos, or just, like I said, just those little things that see where we can just make things a little more fun.
Now, through Crawford Gives, are you fundraising just for general
Just for general operating expenses? Utilities are crazy high. Managing, we manage 3 different
properties,
locations,
right? And none of those are getting any newer.
They're not getting any newer. And when our sewer backed up in our basement about a month ago, that was lots of fun and an expensive ticket.
Well, and I know we've made grants from the Community Foundation to support windows and things.
And we're in the process of painting the building right now, because we sit right in the heart of the gallery district of Titusville, and it's a gorgeous building. And please stop in sometime. People will come in and say, I've never been in this building. Yeah. We have been in that building for over 100 years as a YWCA. Yeah. That building became a YWCA in 1917, and we love showing it off. So stop in and see us. The mirrors are absolutely amazing, the marble fireplaces.
That's what I was thinking about, the fireplaces.
Yeah, stop in and take a look. But it's very important to us that we maintain the historic integrity of that building, and we work really hard just to keep our campus looking really nice, because I do think it's a focal point.
Well, and I mean, you have to think about safety and things for especially with children coming in and out. So I mean,
absolutely,
it's not the kind of thing that you can defer maintenance very long on those kinds of things.
So and especially sewage backup. Yeah, you can't defer that very long. That was an immediate. We got to get something in here and get it done. So, and like I said, the shelter, which is across the street from us, because it's not a domestic violence shelter, it is a homeless shelter. Yeah. We do all of the maintenance for that building as well. The St. James Episcopal Church actually owns the building, but if it needs a heater, we put in the heater. If the lawn needs mowed, we mow the lawn. If the toilet's leaking, we're we take care of all maintenance of that building for our program. So they're very generous in letting us use the building, but all the expenses associated with that home are on the YWCA.
Yeah, and that's an essential service to our community. It's essential to our region.
It really is, that we have a safe place to, like I said, there's a saying, we may not have a pool, but we certainly help women and children when people are feeling like they might be drowning.
Yeah.
So think about us as you're going through and supporting so many great organizations in Crawford County. We partner with so many folks to do things. I always say it takes a village, and it takes a lot of nonprofits to pull off what we do in Crawford County, because it's a great place to live and raise a family, and I'm finding now to grow old.
And there are a few of us, so we really do have to pool our efforts.
That's absolutely right. No one agency can do everything on their own. So partnerships are so very important, and that's one of the things I love about our community is we're constantly working with other agencies, trying to pull together and make things work and just have this be a really great place to live. Yeah. So whether you're able to help out the YWCA this year or any of our nonprofits, please dig a little deeper, and it'll go to good use.
All right. Well, thank you, Ashley.
Thanks so much.
We appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you so much.
I'm Christian Marr from the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation, and it's Crawford Gives again. And I want to let people know that we're broadcasting live from Titusville and the Stream TV studio. And so if anybody wants to come by with a check donation for Crawford Gives, we have staff here today to help with that. Just in the time that we've been sitting here, we've raised another about $25,000 to support local nonprofit organizations. There are 171 organizations on the list, and I see 156 of them have gotten donations so far. So that means some organizations have people who haven't even given a dollar yet. So their boards of directors, I think, need to get on board with the program, and at least send $5 to make your organization look like you're not slacking. So with me this morning is Todd Crego from the Oil Creek and Titusville Railroad, and
Morning,
we've
Christian.
never met.
No, we
before.
haven't. How are you doing?
It's a pleasure.
Yes.
But because it's Crawford County, we know people in common.
That's right.
Because you can, you don't dare say anything bad about somebody because you're going to know their
Yeah,
cousin.
chances are you're related to somebody
Right.
you're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you do at the the Oil Creek and Titusville Railroad?
I'm the onboard education supervisor for the
Okay.
railroad. But as many people found out, I do a lot more than just the onboard education portion of it. I tend to oversee the operations of the passenger service during the day, make sure that the passengers are safe, moving around the train when we're doing tourist trains and things like that, and prepping pre-train ride, doing prep work, and doing some stuff afterwards.
So the railroad is one of the few things that I really want to do in Crawford County, but I've never taken the chance to do it.
Okay.
I always figure that when I have nieces and nephews visiting, it's probably the perfect opportunity, and it's just the stars have never quite aligned for it.
I understand. So basically, for our railroad experience, you'll get on the train at Titusville, and it's an hour and 20-minute ride south to our Ridden Farm station, which is just outside of Rouseville. We're there for about 20 minutes. Get back on the train, it's an hour and 20 minutes back up. During the train ride, you'll hear, we have recordings throughout the train ride talking about the history of the oil history, the railroad history, specific characters that lived in the area during the oil boom, that type of thing.
Coal Oil Johnny and
You'll hear Coal Oil Johnny, you'll hear about Benninghoff Run, you'll hear about certain areas you might not necessarily know about until you hear the recordings. And then we have car hosts that have their own histories. We have people that know a lot about the oil history. We have people that know a lot about railroad history. So depending on which car host you're talking to that day, you might learn a lot more about the oil industry, or you might learn more about the railroad industry. It's a nice mixture. Then of course you get Oil Creek the whole way down and back. You're along Oil Creek, so you're seeing wildlife. This year we've seen several eagles. We've got a lot of people seeing deer and bear. We've seen some osprey, and yeah, it's just a beautiful sight going down through there.
Cool. And I think historically, people really don't necessarily know just how important the railroads necessarily were to the development of Crawford County.
That's correct.
And
Yes.
At one point, this was the frontier.
Right.
And so the railroads really brought industry, they brought materials.
And of course, with industry and materials come the people. And yeah, it doesn't, I don't think people touch on the railroad as much. They don't dig as deep about the history of the railroad as much as it's really been going on there.
Yeah, I mean, railroads, canals, all of it, until the invention of the car, really. That was the...
Yeah. And like in this area, that's part of what you learn about the, railroad competing with the, in the oil industry, the railroad competing with the pipeline, with the barges going down Oil Creek, and kind of how it morphed through the years from one to the other.
Yeah. And you guys are doing special events and things throughout the year.
Yes.
I think there's a Christmas train, because
Yes.
I know people who've taken their grandkids on the Christmas train.
Christmas with Santa, that's
Yeah.
always fun. He gets on the train and he'll talk to every child. Sometimes we've had to slow the train way down just to make sure that each child gets what they think is their right amount of time. We don't rush them through it at all. Just let the natural progression go through the process. And of course, before that, we have our Halloween train. It's geared towards the children, so you get their costumes on. Parents wear costumes. Some of the train crew will wear costumes, and just a nice little trick or treat during the day Halloween train ride.
And you pretty much run the train just during the summer months?
So our regular season starts in June and runs until the middle of October. The last 2 weeks in October is our fall foliage runs, and we will.
Oh, I bet you that's amazing.
It is, and then we will have special events, usually starting around Easter. We'll have a Easter train, and then we will run special events after October for the holidays like Halloween and Christmas. We'll do those, but then December, January, February, we don't run at that point.
Gotcha. So what kind of locomotive are you running?
So the primary locomotive is an Alco. It was built in 1947. It's a diesel electric. So the diesel generator on the engine powers the electric that actually drives the wheels.
And do you have a backup locomotive?
We have two backup locomotives. We have another Alco, and then we have an MDW that we use when we're when we have multiple things going on. But
Okay.
yes, so, and the locomotives we're using our passenger train is also what's providing the freight service into Titusville. So Monday through Friday or during the regular days, they're running freight with those locomotives.
Oh, right, right.
And then on the weekends or when we have our runs, they just unhook they hook our passenger cars up and take us down through.
Yeah, and I think people forget that rail transportation is still a legitimate source of transportation.
Yes, it is.
So that's probably part of your education process too, to say, hey, rail cars are still integral.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, just yesterday I had probably a 45-minute conversation on the train with people about Amtrak and the Amtrak service, things like that. So
Now, is your track part of what is it, the Western? I can't remember the
Western
name.
New York and Pennsylvania?
That one.
No.
No, your own.
We
spur?
are. So the track is owned by the Railway Societies. The Oil Creek Historical Railway Society owns the tracks.
Interesting.
And the engine is owned by the Oil Creek and Titusville lines, not the railroad, but the lines, which is another company altogether.
Okay.
So we own the tracks and the passenger cars. Oil Creek and Titusville lines own the engine and employ the crew to run it. So that they actually lease time for a us when they're hauling freight,
Right.
so to speak.
Neat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and-
because we've got so many rail sites in
Yes.
Crawford County. Northwest Pennsylvania Railroad and Tooling Heritage Center. There's the Meadville Railroad Depot now,
Yes.
and the trolley station in Cambridge Springs.
Yes.
And it's super interesting to me just to see how all of those organizations are growing.
Right.
And able to preserve history and really interpret it for people currently.
Exactly, yeah. And so we do meet up with Western New York and Pennsylvania line. Actually in Route 8, just north of Rouseville, is where our line ends and Western New York and Pennsylvania starts up.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because I've met Carl who runs that, or used to run that
Okay.
before, and you learn all sorts of neat things about how railroads work and how vital they still are to,
Right.
plastics companies and dog food companies and other manufacturers who are bringing materials in.
Yes.
And and we've heard a lot on the news about railroads this past year for
Yeah,
not
exactly.
necessarily great stuff, but
Exactly.
still,
that-
like, it's
that keeps-
essential.
You're right. Then, as things like that will happen, and
Right.
we just have to move on from it, and hopefully, that's part of what I've been doing. I've actually been putting safety plans together just
Okay.
for the passengers and things like that. So if in the event something happens, we have a
Right.
plan ready to go, and I've been pretty successful with that as well.
When you guys also have a little for-profit venture to raise money for
So the Caboose Motel,
The Caboose
that
Motel.
is our for-profit side,
Yeah.
yes. So, and of course, with this Crawford Gives, not the money that we're getting for here does not have anything to do
right.
with the motel. But yeah, it helps us to,
But
keep things going, and actually it helps get us passengers because they come spend the night at the caboose and then jump on the train the next day for a ride.
Right. And so, one of the things that the Community Foundation is really devoted to is helping nonprofit organizations build capacity. And so one of those things for some organizations is thinking about those
Yes.
ways to make a profit and things that are maybe non-traditional. And so
Right.
it makes sense to have something like the Caboose Motel that's like supportive of your mission. And
Yeah, and I've noticed that around Crawford County in general. There's a lot of nonprofit organizations that are now bringing in for-profit things to support them, whether it be like a restaurant or a bar or something like that.
Yeah.
We happen to have a motel,
Yeah.
so it does work out.
So, are there any hidden secrets that people might not know about the train that we should tell people about? So that
It's more fun to let them find them for themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a few. Obviously, the biggest thing that people just don't realize is when you're going down through the park on the train, how beautiful the scenery is. I mean, you're going to see things that you would have to, walk a few hours to get to if you're on the trail
Right.
or biking.
and the things you don't see when you're driving because you're driving.
Yeah, exactly. And where our tracks are, you don't see any roads. I mean, we are going right through the middle of Oil Creek State Park.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's,
There was something I was going to say, and now it's kind of slipped my mind. Oh, many of the train tracks around here have been converted to trails,
Yes.
and things like that, and the rails have been taken out.
Correct.
We're lucky that your trail is still in existence, but I think you have an opportunity for people to throw their bikes on the train.
Yes, so if they're taking the trail from Drake Well down to Petroleum Center, we actually offer shuttle service from Petroleum Center back to Drake Well. And that's not just bikes, we do kayaks as well. This
nice.
weekend I had, with the rain last week, it was great kayaking conditions on Oil Creek, and we had kayakers taking advantage of that. We'd pick them up at Petroleum Center, we'd bring their kayaks back up for them to Drake Well.
That's how I'll have to do it.
Yes, and biking the same way. You get on the bike, ride down to Petroleum Center, we pick you up. Now, we will be doing that this year until we'll stop that at the end of September, because with our fall foliage October rides, it's just way too crowded.
Right.
It's way too crowded. And I don't know if people realize it, but the Petroleum Center Bridge is open again to pedestrian and bike traffic. They closed it last year after the OC 150.
Right.
Last Friday, they made the announcement that the bridge is, if you're a pedestrian or a cyclist, you're able to use the bridge in Petroleum Center, which helps get people to our station so that they can get on the train and come back up.
Nice.
Yes. So
Cool.
we were looking forward to that.
Good. All right. Well, I appreciate your time this morning and telling us all about
You're welcome.
The railroad. And now I'll have to make a plan to bring my kayak.
I would like to add that the money for Crawford Gives we're collecting, it is going all to school students from Crawford County. So Titusville, Pencrest, Crawford Central, Conneaut school districts. The money we collect helps to reduce the cost of the tickets to ride the train for the students and for their chaperones. So
Perfect.
if we get enough, we can make it free for all of the Crawford students. That's
Excellent.
our ultimate goal.
Cool.
So,
All right. Well, keep up the good work. We really like hearing about it.
thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks. welcome back. I'm Christian Marr from the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation, and we are broadcasting live from the Stream TV studios in Titusville, and we're here live. As many of you know, Crawford Gives is a few days of mostly online giving with your credit card. I like to tell people that it's no harder than making a transaction with Amazon. In fact, it might actually be easier. We have 170 different nonprofit organizations, all of whom are helping to make Crawford County a better place to live, learn, work, and raise a family. And you can select from each of them if there are one or maybe 170 that you like. You can select as many or as few as you like, assign dollar amounts to them, and then check out with your credit card. Or you can come to our office in Meadville, or come visit us today in Titusville at the Stream TV studio and pick up a check contribution form and fill that out. And then we add your gift to our total, which currently is at about $278,000. Last year we raised in total, I think about $770,000 for organizations throughout the county. And right now we're talking with a representative of one of those organizations, and it's Kelly Davis from the Titusville Regional Literacy Council, which is the only organization that is devoted to literacy in Crawford County right now. And so you guys provide an essential service to our community. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about how you're making our community better.
Oh my gosh, in so many ways. How much time do I have?
You've got about 15 minutes, so
Okay,
we can fill as much or as little time as you like.
Well, we are Titusville Regional Literacy Council. We have locations in Titusville and Tynesta right now. The reason that literacy councils exist is that 1 out of 5 adults nationwide cannot read well enough to be able to function easily in society with everyday tasks. We do so much more than that, but we help adults 17 and older. With a court order, we can help someone 16, but 17 and older are the majority of our students, and we improve basic skills. We do computer literacy, we do digital literacy, so we can improve computer skills. A majority of our students come to us because they didn't graduate from school the first time, so they need a GED or they want a high school diploma. We collaborate with Titusville area and Forest area school districts, so an adult has a second or third or fourth chance to earn an actual high school diploma. Last year we helped 10 people get GEDs, and 8 of those chose to get the high school diploma too. Are you sneezing? He's sneezing.
Pardon me.
It's okay. I paused right at the wrong time.
I didn't mean to do that.
It's okay.
So most of the people that you probably work with, there's barriers to there were barriers to their education, and so that there were reasons why no one just decides that, oh, I'm not going to learn to read, or I'm not going to complete high school. There's something that gets in the way of completion of that education, and I've never met anyone who's had those barriers who wants those problems.
Oh, sure.
And so, all the people that I've met who've gone through programs like yours, they're pretty tenacious, and they once they realize that the help is out there, and they take advantage of it, they do really great things. And I think that's probably a lot of what you do is telling people, oh yeah, we can help you. We can.
Well, and we definitely can. There are so many reasons that people don't finish school. There are so many reasons that they don't learn to read. Sometimes they're the one person that learns differently, so they fall through the cracks.
Right.
It's said that up until 4th grade, you learn to read. But after 4th grade, you read to learn. So if you don't have it by 4th grade, you're up a creek. As far as not finishing school, there are health issues, there are learning differences, there are addiction issues, there are family
Family
issues.
issues, yeah.
Yeah, there are so many things. And I'm all about second, third, fourth chances. I don't care what kept you from graduating before, come see me.
Right.
And I'll tell you, I'm known for harassing people. I say that all the time. It's
Yeah.
in a good way, you know.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, because you want to see them succeed.
Oh yeah, I'm not like a stalker or something. So
Right.
please don't think that. Your money's going to a good place if you donate to us. It's not
Right.
going to something bad. But I call people. I have a work Facebook page. I message them constantly. I remember seeing a former graduate in Walmart, and she asked about a friend that had been in the program, and we're a confidential program, so I wouldn't discuss anything with anyone except
Right. The
she was
student
there.
themselves, yeah.
And she said, I know she didn't finish. And I said, well, that doesn't mean I'll let up on her. And she said, please don't.
Yeah.
She said, because if you keep harassing her, she said, it worked for me.
Yeah. And if you want people to be productive, constructive members
Oh,
of
sure.
society, and so having these, second, third, and fourth maybe chances are important to people. You've got to, having these services for when a person is ready to take advantage of them is essential. And I mean, I don't know statistics, but I know, your earning potential goes up significantly once not having the high school diploma, you're already at a disadvantage. Once you get that high school diploma, your opportunities increase, your earning potential increases, your ability to take care of your family increases.
Be
and-
self-sufficient, yeah.
Yeah.
And self-esteem. Yeah, absolutely.
And as someone who's struggled with learning disabilities myself, I know how important it is. Like, I had the support I needed, but people not having that support, once they find it, I feel like it can be eye-opening.
Oh, and we're their biggest cheerleader, too. Yeah, I'm known for harassing people, but I push people in a good way, and I'm their biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
You were talking about how high school diplomas are important in so many different ways. You can't even join the military right now without a high school diploma. If you have just a GED, it's not going to work in most cases.
Okay, so tell me what's the difference between the two then?
You have to put it, as far as we're concerned, you have to put in a little more effort. We used to only have night school, and night school takes about 3.5 months. So you have to, we can do it in any part of our program now, but no matter what part you are in, you have to commit to a certain number of hours. You have to accumulate those hours, and you have to do what's called a graduation project. Oh, look, there's my graduate.
Oh, there.
You have to do a graduation project, which sounds so scary, but it's absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's 7 assignments. It used to be 17. It's 7 assignments, and they're nothing. So, and sometimes it's just self-satisfaction that people want to do it. We have a graduation ceremony in June, cap and gown. All the families and friends are there, and it's an amazing time.
Cool.
Yeah.
So are you raising money for anything specific, or just the overall operating fund for the organization?
I guess it's overall operating funds, but honestly, we use it a lot if someone can't afford to take the GED and they can't get the funds someplace else.
Right.
We've used it for GED vouchers. For transportation, transportation's a huge issue with our students.
Huge barrier, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say that those are big ones.
Cool.
And I want to say one more thing. If childcare is an issue with anyone and that keeps them from coming, we have early childhood educators. So if you have a child 8 or under, you can bring your children with you. And our early childhood educators do activities with them, and they get them school ready,
And
it's awesome.
and my impression is that literacy issues are often generational.
There's something called a cycle of illiteracy is what it's called. We like to call it the cycle of literacy. If we can teach the adult, then they can teach the children, and it improves.
And so having that service so close by is probably really helpful for that next generation.
Oh, of course, absolutely. And that's one of our goals, is to break that cycle, improve the cycle of literacy.
All right, cool. Always interesting to talk to you, always interesting to hear about what you folks are doing, so we appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you.
I think Luke's got the leaderboard up, and we've got our largest fundraiser so far is the Academy Theater, who are always very effective, followed by the Meadville Area Recreation Foundation and the Ernst Trail. And so all of these organizations are essential to our community in various ways, and find the thing that really has impacted your life or you feel most passionately about, and think about making your charitable gift in their support. So thanks again, Kelly. We appreciate it.
It was good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Thanks.
And I'm Christian Marr from the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation, and we're broadcasting live from Titusville currently, thanks to Luke Rio and the Stream TV studio. And with me right now are Kristen Kerr and Don Morris, who are representing the Greater Titusville Development Foundation, and we're talking pickleball, which is, I was saying before we came back, is something that I am, all of my friends seem to be going crazy for, and I'm only just learning about. I'm a failed tennis player, so pickleball seems to be the new rage, and you guys are wanting to have more opportunities for recreation here in Titusville.
That's correct. That's correct. And there are a lot of tennis players that have and are converting over to pickleball, along with racquetball players and people that like to play, you know, the racket sports, paddle sports, things like that. Because there's a combination, right, of pickleball, kind of like racquetball, tennis, ping pong, those types of things. But it's you're right. There's a lot of crazy people playing.
But I think you were also saying it's not just about recreation, but it's also about building a bit of community.
Absolutely.
And you were just traveling to play pickleball elsewhere in tournaments and things, and so this is something that you would be able to host if you're. Tell us a little bit more about the project so that people.
So there is currently tennis courts at the Edmire complex, and they haven't been updated or taken care of that well in years, 20 years probably. So we had an idea as the city was doing a big project at the Edmire complex that we could turn those courts into 6 pickleball courts, right? 6.
Correct.
Excuse me. So we got a quote, this was last summer, and it was about $75,000 to do fix the asphalt, nets, paint, all of those things. So the city committed $25,000, and our foundation, the Greater Titusville Development Foundation, committed $5,000. We had a donor that gave us money, an anonymous donor, and said wherever it's needed most.
We always love those.
Yeah, we love those too. So I said, well, why don't we use it for pickleball? Because it helps when you're asking for donations to see there's already some money there. People are like, oh, some people have already committed money,
Right.
so I would be more willing to give to that, you know. So anyway, the courts, if we could raise enough money that we could possibly have them done this fall.
That'd be
if
great.
it would be possible to
that'd
raise
be
it.
great.
Yeah. So we're asking for $40,000, and I think we're 10% there about.
Yep, just a little bit more than that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But we still have a day and a half of fundraising. People
Right.
can give by credit card, or they can make a check contribution for that. We have the check contribution forms on the website that people can download, and we can make arrangements to pick up checks if there's the need.
Okay.
But the credit card giving is the easiest stuff for us
Yeah.
because you can just go and select an organization and apply an amount of money towards them, and then check out. I'll probably say this again, but it's easier than doing Amazon and doing your online shopping.
Yeah.
And so one of the great things about, I think, this project is going back to the community of it. Once you have 6 courts, you can bring people to Titusville. That's a community development
Right.
engine as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you can bring people, they're not just coming to play pickleball.
Well, sure, and that's probably one of the big motivations that we have. I can tell you, we have an event, and who's cooperated a lot with this as well is the Titusville YMCA.
And they're always fantastic.
Right. So, in fact, they're getting ready to put on an event at the end of September. And as you said, when people come in, they come in from all over the place. The tournament that I just participated in yesterday was a weekend tournament down in Buell Park, which is a beautiful place.
Gorgeous.
Right. And they had mixed doubles and men's singles, women's singles, and it's a big gathering. And they were able to go ahead to raise a lot of money as well. But you're right. Most of the individuals are going out to dinner somewhere in the community, so it's a nice support system there too. And we're kind of like here in Titusville that if it's like the Field of Dreams, right? If you build it, we'll get them here. We will get them here, and we have great cooperation with our friends, our other pickleball friends, in Warren, Franklin, Oil City, Seneca, Meadville. Erie, Buell is, so it's kind of like when they know an event is going on, everyone feeds each other, and usually I would say that the tournaments are very successful. So.
Yeah, and it seems like pickleball is taking the area by storm.
It is.
I have friends who went on a cruise and got addicted this summer. I didn't realize cruise ships had pickleball, but I see. I'm a member of the Meadville YMCA, and they've got a very active. And every time they need to resurface the basketball courts and displace pickleball, there are very many angry people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Even though they know that it's a short-term pain for a long-term gain, but
Yeah.
they do not like to be denied the ability to
get
play.
that, yeah.
And so the more opportunities, next year maybe you'll be building a roof over it.
Right. Yeah. And the complex down there is perfect. There's tons of parking. There's a concession stand already that could be used, if they wanted
True.
to bring food in.
Right.
And I know like the tournament this year, not only supporting going out to dinner, but they're having one of our local restaurants cater so that everyone that's at the pickleball tournament can get food, and that also helps them too. So
Right.
it is a whole community and economic development project.
Right, which helps. I mean,
Yes.
and that's it. It's all of us working in little ways to create reasons for people to visit and
Yep.
and stay overnight at like
Right.
the Caboose Motel or elsewhere, and to get to know an area and
Yeah.
take advantage of all the
There's
things.
so many
that-
other things to do around here too. So come
Right.
play pickleball, ride the train.
Sure.
You go to Drake Well, bike
You can
trails.
you can kayak and do the bike trails and all of those kind of
Yep.
things, which you're also intimately involved in,
Yeah.
and so
Yep.
it's just really interesting to see these things kind of come together and people get excited about
Yeah, for sure.
about them.
There's a lot of youth again that are getting involved too, and it's kind of interesting because it's all about space. I mean, it really comes down to space. If we have when we get these 6 courts done at Ed Myers, the school and the city still allows us to utilize what's at Burgess Park, which there's 4 that we're using over the tennis courts as well.
Okay.
So, when you have 10 pickleball courts, plus when the Y opens up another 3, that allows us to have a broad range of level and people, coming in. And the other thing that where it kind of feeds each other is people will come down to watch and they've never played before,
Right.
or they're afraid to get on the court. All right. So when the Y opens up beginner programs, or a lot of our players love to go ahead to volunteer and teach.
Right.
So
Right,
they'll
'cause
go
you-
down one-on-one and teach them the rules like what you said.
Yeah.
You just learned what the
I just
kitchen,
learned about the kitchen, right, yeah.
Right. And so it's just a feeding system, and I just it's truly in Titusville in the infancy age.
Right.
So
Well, and I think that's what's important too, is you've got to have a commitment to like a feeder system and and people who are willing to teach and realize the value and the benefit to the greater community and to young people. I know for me personally, I've learned a lot of my best life lessons from sports.
Yeah.
And I know that that's the case for a lot of different young people. And so this is another great opportunity for that.
Yeah.
To build confidence and all that.
we wear our Fitbits. I know that. And yesterday in my
Right.
tournament, I think I had, not my tournament, but where we participated, I had over 14,000 steps. Right, supposedly burned 4,000 calories, but it didn't show it on the scales this morning. I'll say that.
It never does.
And I forget, and I think in this zone or whatever it was, it ended up being like 5.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
So I can tell you, I was exhausted yesterday,
Right. Yeah.
so, but
Well, I saw you were limping a little today. Did you
I'm
get
always
injured?
limping, It's that age. I also just turned 62, look,
Yeah.
all right? Yay! So,
But in great shape, and you want, and again, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
And so we're not the most healthy community here in Crawford County overall, and so anything that we can do to encourage physical fitness and all of
Right.
those things in lots of different ways, that's all good stuff. I mean,
Sure.
it
Yep.
relieves a burden on the hospital. It makes us all just feel
well, you
better.
got to watch saying that because there's statistics about pickleball now that it's increased the injuries and
Oh man.
right with sprains.
Well,
and
we've
all
got
that.
lots of orthopedic specialists in the county, though.
Sure,
So maybe,
right.
maybe we can get some donations from those folks.
Yeah, there
you
you
know.
go. Yeah.
But is there anything else you want to add about the project before?
Do you have anything to add?
I really don't know. I know that individuals are wanting to give, and as reflected here, they are giving. And as you stated, it is easier for them to go to the site that Kristen put up and give.
And so I think the other important message is share these videos, share the ask with your friends and neighbors. And what I find is that I've told this story a lot to Luke. People tend to give to the things that their friends ask them to give to. They don't necessarily give to the things that are nearest and dearest to their heart, which is strange to think about. But if your friend comes and says, "Hey, I'm really passionate about this pickleball court, and I'd really like you to do it," think about giving $25 to it. People really step up.
Right, and every little bit helps.
And
it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
$1,000 donation. 25 is, you know what I mean?
Right.
10 even,
Yeah, but everything adds up, and there are people out there who are obviously passionate about it, and if they can put a little bit of money towards it,
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And you don't even need to be in Crawford County or Titusville to do
Right.
so. You can be from Florida, or maybe
All
you
those
grew
snowbirds down here.
or maybe you grew up here and you want to see this community continue to thrive.
Absolutely.
And so put a little money
Yeah,
towards that.
definitely.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Hey,
thank you.
it's a pleasure. It's nice meeting you, John.
You too.
And I'm excited to see what happens to this. And remember, the Community Foundation also makes grants. So,
Okay.
if you're needing that little extra last dollar
Okay.
support,
All right.
please,
Awesome.
please,
We'll take you up on
that.
please be
Right,
sure to
right.
ask.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And I think, hey, Luke, how are we doing so far? Oh, we're into the 300,000s now. And so still at just 157 nonprofits. That means, let's see, if I do math in my head, that's 13 organizations that are still sitting at zero. So hopefully
Yeah.
those organizations will start to call their donors and ask them to give them support so that we can have everyone at least raise something through Crawford Gives. All right, we'll take a break for a minute and be back in a few with Tambra from the Titusville Alumni Association. Usually we've got some light. And I'm Christian Marr. I'm with the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation, and we're running our Crawford Gives event for this year. And so far, $333,000 has been raised for 157 local nonprofit organizations, 1,504 gifts. So that will roughly be 1,500 people or couples giving.
Exactly.
Occasionally people, some of them are probably duplicates because occasionally people come back and like, oh, I forgot to give to another organization. So we won't know until after it all shakes out how many individual people have given. But that number looks pretty good. Like even if that's
yeah, it's a good start. It's a great start. Absolutely.
And so we've still got a day and a half of Crawford Gives. We started a little early with an early bird giving day on Saturday. And with me today, now this morning, is Tamara Warner-Sabatini, who is new at the Titusville Alumni Association.
Absolutely.
And so the great thing about your organization is you're talking to people across the country who've got their start here and have gone on to do great things in other places, and hopefully they feel strongly. I'm going to take out my watch that I keep
clanking our way through here.
Clanking across the. And so, Tamara has a built-in group of people who've made their start here in Titusville schools.
Right, definitely.
And as someone who works across the county with all the schools, there is something special about Titusville schools.
We would agree.
And so you're the only school district in all of Crawford County that has pre-K for everybody.
Oh, I didn't realize that actually.
I mean, so this is
that is pretty amazing.
To me, that is one of the things that really sets Titusville apart.
It's true. It could.
It's a commitment to education that I don't want to say is lacking elsewhere, but
it undergirds such a great foundation.
It really does. I mean, you're getting kids at the earliest possible point, and you're getting them into a great system. And I know, because I know the school board president, about how well Titusville does at recruiting teachers and getting the best and the brightest. So the education that young people get here,
it is pretty amazing. I will definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
When I was in school, I had teachers that my parents had, and my own daughters had teachers that I had. And that continuity within the community across the board is pretty powerful. People don't realize it exactly, but it has a big impact along the way. So, and the Alumni Association actually does have a pretty good, huge network, which is part of why we're participating here. Yeah. I did lose my voice 2 weeks ago at the Alumni All-School Reunion, so it is still coming back for any of you who wonder why I sound like this. But we're getting there. It's getting back. And I wanted to say thank you already to those of you who have already donated. We're on the board already. We have a couple gifts up there, so that's pretty exciting. Thank you for the opportunity, and we thank you to those alumni from not only Titusville High School, but we actually represent the Pleasantville High School and the St. Joseph's Academy. And people don't realize quite the extent of how far we go with everything. It's quite an extensive network. And over the years, the Alumni Association began in 1996. That first year, we were able to give one scholarship of $250 that first year. And since then, we're now around $30,000 per year in scholarships just through the alumni donations and alumni support that we have. So we do that, and then we have, of course, everybody who's an alumni knows about the alumni newsletter. And we do that twice a year. It's an actual paper newsletter that we put out. And that's kind of the core of where we are here today, is the systems that have been used to connect with our network. And our alumni go back to the 1800s. We started with, let's see, Ida Tarbo was, 1876?
John Heisman, maybe?
And Heisman was 1887. We have some pretty amazing alumni, and they go clear through.
Well, and I know doctors and lawyers and tech company executives who've come out of Titusville High School, and and even people who've gone on to other successful careers. Who I mean,
it's extensive.
I think it's incumbent upon each of us to look back on what got us to success in life, and what things were really formative, whether it was sports or a teacher or somebody who really took an interest and helped you to get to that, into college or to that next step or just to graduation.
Right.
And again, making a gift in support of that next generation of students. Both of our organizations are making scholarship awards to students
Numerous students
in our region, and really investing in the best and brightest for the next generation, hoping that a few of them, will come back.
Right.
And if not, that but they give back.
They
in some
support,
way.
and they have that tie to their hometown. They have that tie to their community. They still have cousins and relatives, aunts and uncles and grandparents here, and they come back, and they miss it, and they know that there's still things they can do to help this grow, even no matter where they've gone. But we also, in the scholarships, we also do a number of trade school, technical schools, and one of the interesting things about that is, obviously, you go to college, you get a degree. Some stay, some go, but the trade and technical skills tend to stay here.
Yeah.
They tend to build a local business. They tend to create their families here. They tend to be involved in the local organizations. All of those pieces come together, and they create this network of community. And then we have these ones out here who create their networks. And it all comes back to here,
Well, and I think we need to be mindful that not everybody is on a college career path. And that's perfectly acceptable.
Exactly.
I mean,
we need all the trades. We need all the skill sets. Exactly.
All those kind of things. And I know a lot of those tradespeople are making a lot more money than I do.
True, it is true. Yeah, there's definitely forward advancement there. And then the other thing is we have so many who are now working remotely, and we're seeing a number of alumni who are coming back to town.
Yeah.
Some started out, they bought a house in town for a summer location to get out of a big city somewhere, and they come back for the summer. Or they'll buy a house on a lake for the summer, and they'll come back for the summer. So we're seeing a lot of that, and now more and more, we're seeing others who are just moving back as they're closing in on retirement. Yeah. And in years past, maybe they wanted to go to Florida or Arizona or down to Myrtle Beach. Now they're actually wanting to come back here, back home.
Yeah.
They have that network and the community.
And for me, I think the quality of life here is fantastic, and I know
is pretty amazing.
You are an outdoors person, and so
I did not wear the motorcycle clothes today.
Right, but I don't. My impression is that there's no weekend that you are sitting at home with your feet up.
No.
That you are always outside, whether it's kayaking or biking or running or on a motorcycle somewhere.
Yeah, there's so much here. And that's actually, I lived in D.C., Northern Virginia for 20 years. And when the opportunity came to switch back here, I brought the girls and we moved back.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted them to have the opportunity of the schooling that I had here, that community, that extended network, that base of education, the resources we had here, the lifestyle we had here.
Yeah.
That it wasn't in suburbia. It was fun to be in suburbia to a point, but you sat in traffic a lot.
Yeah.
Here you have a lot more opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that there's value in that community, and
there is very much.
But again, it'd be nice to see.
There we go.
Oh, you've got a few of the
popped a few pictures on our
the famous alumni of.
So I do have a Facebook page and a LinkedIn page going right now. So I'm sharing a lot of the history, and this week, of course, being football season starting, I've been kicking that, going back 100 years to our football records.
Right.
And we're receiving box loads of memorabilia, information records every week from our alumni. And we're actually in the process of also working on grants to start getting the whole inventory done for like genealogical research, preservation of the records, all those. So I'm working on a couple grants on those that we're working through too. But our most immediate need right now is maintaining and expanding that network of alumni.
Yeah.
It is very antiquated. We're using Excel spreadsheets, which
and I know we've talked about
we have, and I'm like, I really need to fine tune this because there's so much we're missing to serve our alumni.
Yeah.
And that's vitally important to me because we don't want to lose our people.
Yeah, and it's so hard to keep track of people as they move away.
It is.
And and change jobs and move
Exactly.
houses and all of those types of things. That it's really important to have those.
Right, and it's a free membership. Everybody we're very unique. high schools do not have alumni associations. And we're very unique in that we do.
Yeah.
And, you know, we start out with that list from graduating seniors. We start with that list, you know, on top of the list that they built years ago. And, you know, then so you have 5 people in one household at one address, and then they start merging off, and then you're trying to keep track of them. You don't want to lose them. And so there's a constant refurbishing of the list, and it's needing some major work right now.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of support in that. We need a little bit more. And I'm very appreciative to the alumni who are already supporting, because we're seeing that coming in.
So hopefully we'll see a lot more of the
I'm
alumni
looking
come
forward
in.
to it. I'll just keep saying, hey, come on, let's get this done. You know what you like to receive. It'll make giving easier for our donations.
Well, you're paying it forward to future generations.
Right.
And to really, you know, if you thought that you got a great education in Titusville and you owe a debt of gratitude.
Exactly.
The Alumni Association is a great way to make a gift and pay that
Exactly.
forward.
And so for the younger graduates who tend to not have checkbooks and
Right.
write physical checks, this is a great way.
And that's what we're hoping.
It is, because the others who get the alumni newsletter get an envelope, and they're really good about sending a check
Right.
back in and helping us do our needs, but the younger generation do not have checks.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what we at the Community
Right.
Foundation were realizing is, you know, my bread and butter is, you know, 70 plus
Exactly.
people who have checkbooks
They
and
write
they're
their
willing to strike a
checks.
check, and they are consistent and wonderful.
And
But
we're
the-
very appreciative,
Right.
because we wouldn't be here without you.
But those younger generations, we need to get them thinking
We
about
do.
how they can give back to their community and why it's incumbent upon them to do so.
And in the last few months, integrating them on Facebook and LinkedIn is starting to make a big difference.
Yeah.
I'm starting to hear their stories. I'm starting to hear where they're going. They're seeing their own pictures. And we had some fun things at the all-school reunion where all of a sudden this little light bulb went on, and
Yeah.
they're oh, we're part of this organization. I'm like,
Right.
yes, you are.
And-
we want to
and-
help you.
And I think when we're talking about younger people, we're talking about people in
Well,
their 40s.
right, it's true.
And I mean,
Yeah, from the 2000s forward, really.
Right.
Yeah, that 23-year time frame there.
because once you get established in your career and you're like, oh, I have a bit of extra
Right.
spending money, and you're like, oh, well, maybe I should do something
Yeah,
that gives
yeah.
back with some of that money.
Right, and it goes to so many good opportunities to help the younger students coming out, to help
Right.
that community, like
And-
we've talked.
And I mean, and you and I have seen the scholarship applications for these young people.
They're amazing.
Oh my God.
I'm blown away.
It's really impressive.
Really.
And I don't think I've ever felt bad about any
No.
of the scholarship awards we've ever made to
No.
a student in Titusville.
It's one of
There's-
the first posts I made on Facebook when I got the first round of applications this year. I said, do not be despairing about the young people
No.
of tomorrow, because
These kids are going to change the world.
these kids are amazing, and don't doubt that, and don't be fearful, because they're involved in their communities. They're keeping their grades up. We had several homeless young ladies who did amazing, and their schoolwork is great, and they're moving forward, and they're
And-
doing the work in life that
and young-
counts.
Yeah, and young people who've had family challenges
Right.
and things, and still had amazing grades. Like
It's
really heartening.
It is very heartening, and I would encourage the alumni from far and wide to understand that and realize what a massive difference you're making.
Yeah.
Not just for the Alumni Association, but through Crawford Gives and all the others who are providing these scholarships. These
Right.
kids are grateful.
I mean, especially because, the price of education is not going down.
No.
And every student that we see, they have demonstrated financial need.
Oh,
And so,
absolutely.
I mean, this is money that is not wasted on anything.
No.
It's really quite essential to
It's a
building
way
that
of
next
making a
generation.
difference that really does make a difference.
Yeah.
You know,
It
when
makes you feel good.
It does. It absolutely does. So thank you to everyone who is already contributing and will contribute.
And to everyone who hasn't yet,
Yes.
you still have time.
Absolutely.
But consider the Titusville Alumni Association in your plans. And,
Thank you.
And share this with your friends. If you're a Titusville alum, remind your friends that you gave and that they should too.
That'd be great. I
Right.
appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you, Tamara.
Thank you very much.
And it looks like we're at $334,000, so a little bit more money raised since our last
Yay.
break. And we'll take a break now and come back in just a few. And I'm Kristen Martin. The Crawford Heritage Community Foundation and Crawford Gives continues, incrementally increasing the amount given to our local nonprofit organizations. Still, there are 13 organizations who have received no money, and so we're waiting to see if people will support all of them through this program, and hopefully they will. And I'm joined now by Stephanie Feely from the University of Pittsburgh at Titusville, and she is going to tell us about a newish opportunity
Yes.
For vocational training, which is terribly needed in this community, as we had another organization that was supplying trade and technical education kind of fizzle out in the past year, and so you guys have thankfully risen up to fill the gap. And do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
So in June of 2021, we brought the Pitt Swanson School of Engineering's Manufacturing Assistant Center to Titusville. Originally thought we were going to be a branch of their program, but they decided to bring the whole market right here to where we really need manufacturing training. And so we opened up in August of 21, and we've been offering cohorts in either 6 weeks or 15-week sessions. So and they can get basic machining or stay on and do CNC machining after they complete their basic training.
Okay.
So it's exciting. We've seen the numbers grow with enrollment each year in each cohort. And in fact, tonight we start a 15-week basic machining course right here, and we are doing evening this year because we found that there's a lot of individuals that need upskilling in manufacturing and machining. So we moved to an evening to meet their needs and best serve the businesses too.
Well, and so that's exciting to hear, because one of the things I think about a lot are what are the barriers to employment, and many times we work with organizations who are like, okay, well, this is what we offer, and this is the time we offer it, and they expect that people don't have those barriers of maybe needing childcare or something like that, or they work a day job in this case, and you need to adjust when you offer these things, and so.
Yeah.
You guys are really thinking outside of the box.
Trying as much as we can, and we talk to the students as well. Is it going to be Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday? What meets their needs, to know what's best so we can get the maximum enrollment per class.
Right.
And then if we see an interest in 2 or 3 weeks that we need to have a 6-week daylight class, we can start that because it's a flexible program.
Okay. Yeah, and that's amazing that you can adjust to fill the needs of not only the industry but the student as well.
Right. And we have industries that are calling us fairly regularly saying, we would love to get some of our employees in for training. When's the next class, or what exactly do you do, and how can we get our employees enrolled? So that's great too.
Well, and because collaboration is as I said earlier to somebody else, we're all small organizations kind of running on a little bit of a shoestring budget, and so having the capacity to do things on our own is difficult to come by. And so the more we can do to collaborate and work together and share some of the burden, the better.
Definitely.
And so you guys are definitely there. I know you've been in constant contact with our partners at the Northwest Pennsylvania National Tooling and Machining Association, who represent many of the manufacturing businesses in Northwest Pennsylvania, all of whom are short-staffed, screaming for
people.
Skilled people,
yes,
trained people to do these jobs, and many of them are smaller, like smaller tool and die shops that they can't invest in their own comprehensive machining program, but you guys can.
Yes,
and so
we definitely can, and we can do it pretty quickly for them, and we're not requiring them to take basic and go right into CNC. They might start with basic with us and come back in a year and say, okay, I'm ready to take that jump to CNC machining. And we really didn't think about evening program or an evening session until a business came to us and said, look, I have 4 employees that I need to get trained. Is there any way they get off at 3 or 4 in the afternoon?
Right.
And that's when we were like, yes, we need to meet the needs.
Yeah.
Let's change it. Our biggest challenge right now is not everyone has the cash available. So that's what we decided to get involved with Crawford Gives, to provide scholarship money to students so that they can
Right.
come with a little less burden overall.
Well, even though the long-term outlook for pay for these careers is great,
Right.
you're still accruing some
Some
debt at the outset, and so
Yes.
you are there's still some need for assistance to help subsidize and do those things. I know, as I mentioned, we partner pretty closely with the NTMA Education Association, which is the branch of that organization that does, they do scholarships, but they also run the RoboBots program and
Yep.
things like that. But I'm on the committee that helps do scholarships, and so, you know, I know one of the students is
One's coming here, and even
here, yeah.
we had a student that received one of the Titusville alumni scholarships this year. So
it's all of us doing that heavy lifting
Yes.
and coming together, because I mean, we don't have the capacity. We're a small organization. We can't do all of it. But if the Alumni Association can do some of it, if we can do some of it, if the NTMA can do some of it, and you guys have some skin in the game too,
Yep,
obviously.
definitely.
Hopefully we can, you know, make our region's manufacturing sector that much more vibrant. I mean, all of these folks are kind of at wit's end, I think, in a lot of cases, because there's just not enough bodies, people. You know, I know manufacturers who are like, if you can pass the math test, you can do this job.
Right.
And so some of them have the ability to train, some of them need the additional help and can put some money towards it,
Yes.
but maybe don't have, you know, they can't subsidize the entire cost of tuition most of the time.
Right.
Because these are small business owners who are, you know,
They might have 10 employees, and
Right.
they can't afford to lose somebody off the shop floor,
right.
off the top.
Yeah, and I know some shops that are mandatory overtime,
Yes.
because there are so few. I know I know of a shop where someone is bringing in their child, and you know their child's getting taken care of in the shop office while they're out running a machine. So it's
And we've had students that have said it involves a lot of math, and I'm a little worried.
yeah,
And we're like, it's okay, because we have our learning center on campus. So we are willing to help them with their math skills while they're enrolled in the program,
Right.
to try to get them to where they're feeling a little more comfortable on the machines, being able to figure out, you know, fractions and where everything should be and not be. And
right, tolerances and all of those kind of
Yes.
things that
So-
that I, as not a mathematically inclined person, would have very
Yes.
very much difficulty with.
I'm right there with you. I've looked at the exam and I'm like, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And they're like, you could.
I mean, I would be in the remedial section as well, where I mean, I don't think I've taken a math class since. I have not taken a math class since 12th grade, and I don't know that I'm proud of that. But I was a communications major. I didn't need to do those things, and I've gotten by with the calculator and Excel and those kind of things, and people around me who are smarter. But to be in machining, you really have to have those basics just kind of hammered into you.
Right, and we can really help you get there, because, you know, that learning center. We also have a great rapport with our occupational advisory committee, who are all industry professionals trying to tell us, look, we're moving in this direction, so we need to think about this type of
Right.
training on the machines, so that we're really preparing them for those jobs, and, you know, they're understanding the math skills that they need with that. Some writing, a little
Yeah.
less
Right,
writing, but you need to be able to.
But you need to be able to communicate with your
Yes.
coworkers and to
Yes.
explain things.
And
in a-
they're in cohorts in the classes with your traditional recent high school graduates to 60-year-olds.
right, and intergenerational communication is a whole different thing.
It is, and so it's nice to go into the classroom or into the workshop with them and see how they're working together and experiencing what it would be like to be on that shop floor.
Right.
You know, oh, I got to be able to prepare what I need for the next person to be able to do their job.
Yeah.
So we're excited to be part of Crawford Gives and hoping to raise some funds to help offset some scholarship money for these students.
Great.
So.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And
Thank
we're
you.
going to take a quick break, and then we'll go right back. Crawford Heritage Community Foundation, and we're continuing to raise money for more than 170 different organizations in Crawford County, and the Meadville Medical Center Foundation has just jumped to the top of the top donation totals above the Academy Theater. That was one of the places I gave to personally this morning, but I didn't get them quite that much money. And one of the things I think we're blessed here in Crawford County with is one hospital system, one local hospital system.
Absolutely.
And the joint collaboration between Titusville Area Hospital and Meadville Medical Center I think we've got a little bit of rivalry. You know, we want to see
Right.
Titusville raise more money than Meadville.
That would be awesome.
But to have one system that is independent is
Yes.
absolutely essential, I think, to our region.
Yes.
And as someone who's had friends and family members in many of the regional hospitals, unfortunately, I've never seen better care than in
Great.
our facilities here in Crawford
Yeah.
County. And we were talking briefly. Kelly, why don't you tell us about yourself?
So I'm Kelly Clark. I work at Titusville Area Hospital. I do a lot of work with our foundation, and that's why we're here today. One of our big projects that we just launched is the oncology department renovation. And with me today is two of our oncology nurses. For anyone that goes there, they definitely know these two. This is Amber Ruth and Trish Leach.
Hello.
I don't know how much any of the audience knows about our renovation process, but we are basically moving the entire project, the entire department down to the first floor. So it's going to be a lot better patient access and a lot easier for patients to get in and out, and a completely new facility, state-of-the-art equipment.
And when you're undergoing oncology treatment, when you have cancer, the last thing you want to do is to have to travel for that treatment.
Yes.
The last thing you want is to be uncomfortable. So
Yes. So I'll let you guys talk about some of the services that we do offer at Titusville. Some of the folks might not be very familiar with that.
We offer all the services except for radiation. We can do chemotherapy, immunotherapy, just follow-up care. We do oral medications. We do injections. We offer anything, and if you're sick, we can give you the fluids and that you need, and that's pretty.
Yep, and we're there 2 days a week, so people need to realize that too. Tuesdays and Thursdays, or Tuesdays and Wednesdays, depending on what physician's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we share a physician with the Meadville Medical Center, which is Dr. Young. He's really
I've heard
great.
fantastic things about.
Oh,
wonderful.
He is
He's
wonderful.
godsend to
Yeah.
us.
Yes, we have a lot of patients that we get such positive feedback from our small oncology department. So that's one of the reasons why we want to add this renovation and the new department and just make it a lot nicer for those folks that are staying close in the area. And they'll have a better space for family to come in with them.
And we'll have more room.
And I think, unfortunately, probably all of us have had lives that have been touched by cancer in some way with
Yes.
friends and family members.
Yes.
And so having this, even if you don't live here any longer, having an independent hospital that offers these services is really essential to our overall community health and well-being. And so maybe if you moved away and your family's, I talk about my dad's Relay for Life team a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's something that's very important to him.
Right.
And so if you've maybe moved away and you've had a cancer diagnosis in your family, and you know that you want to see people in Titusville have this care close to home, know that, if you're going through chemotherapy and you feel awful already from having to go through that process, you don't want to have to drive hours away to Pittsburgh or Erie to get that treatment. You want to be close to home where you can just go home, go to bed afterwards, and be around your friends and loved ones. And so I think that's really what is kind of incumbent upon all of us
Right.
to make those services available, because this is big city care in Titusville.
It is.
Really.
It is. And like we said, we share our doctor from Meadville, and we also get to share a lot of the other things that they offer. We have all the greatest specialties offered to us because of the proximity to Meadville Medical Center, and because we share a lot of the services. So it is great care, but it's close to home.
Yes, it is.
So anyone out there that's looking for a great cause, I know we've been talking about the oncology renovation for a long time. I actually come on the morning drill with Luke and talk about it a lot. So there has been really great feedback. We've already raised so much money just through grant writing, and we had a successful golf scramble recently that raised quite a bit. So definitely looking to do more. So,
and hopefully we can identify a few people who maybe haven't thought about it, or for whatever reason haven't heard about the project yet. and again, we're trying to reach out to people who maybe moved away,
Right.
and
Yeah.
still have fond feelings for the community and want
Right.
to see, you know, maybe in the past the hospital's taken care of their friends and family and have had a good experience and want to continue to make sure that that, you know, continues. And so anything you can do to help build the oncology services are helpful, and we're trying to get people to give, you know, even at smaller levels. So I mean, if you've got $5, $10, $15
Yes.
that you want to put towards this project,
Yes.
don't think that your gift is small or insignificant. I think anything that is helps the whole process and gets you really engaged in our community and in giving. So
Yes, we are thankful and grateful for any amount.
Yes, I think any penny would go to
Yes.
good use at our
Yeah.
facility.
yeah, I've never seen all the projects that have been done. You know, I think last year the Community Foundation helped with new beds, or there
We
was the
did.
year before.
Yes. We have new beds.
and
We
so,
had
like-
a new CT scanner.
And that too, yeah.
We
yeah.
finished the emergency room area. It was, yeah. We've
And
had a
so-
lot of really great projects.
Yeah, and so there's always something going on to make our community continue to offer great care, fantastic physicians and fantastic nurses who are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have fantastic patients.
Yes.
We do.
We really do.
And it really is, I think, fulfilling when you see people persevere through those personal challenges and come out the other end.
Yes.
And I know at the Yolanda Barco Center, they've got a bell
Yeah.
that when people finish treatment.
Yes, we have a lot of really great feedback from about our nurses as well as our doctor. You know, if I talk to somebody that has been there, and I'm like, oh, do you know Trish or Amber or Liza? They're like, oh, that's my nurse.
Yeah.
You know, everyone knows them. They're the same face, which is
Yeah.
really comforting. You know, it's not different faces all the time. It's the same face that takes care of you and knows your story and knows what's going to make you comfortable, knows what your needs are. So that's one of the really great things about going to a smaller facility as well.
Yeah.
I think our little department's special because me, Trish, and Eliza pretty much do everything from secretary to she's our social worker, case manager. I mean, we hold many hats in that
Yes.
department. But it's nice because we do know everything about the patient.
Yes, we do.
Right.
They
That-
just become part of our family.
And that allows you to react well to their needs and
Yes.
to anticipate what might make them more comfortable. My alarm is going off. I apologize for that. But,
So, does that mean our time's up here?
just about. Is there anything else you want to tell us about the project? That,
There's Lukey showing us the picture from when
Oh,
we,
yeah, that's-
that was the
that's the
finished
beds.
bed project. We were so excited when they came in. We worked on that for a long time, and it was really neat. It was, everyone in that picture helped haul a bed in.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they were coming in on a truck, and piece by piece, we were getting them out and loaded and put into patient beds. Patients would leave their room to go have a test or something done, and they would come back and have a brand new bed.
Yeah.
So it was a really cool day. So that's going to be hopefully what we see through the oncology department renovation. I think a lot of our patients are going to be very happy and surprised by what we're going to do.
We're very excited
Yeah, we're super
Yeah.
excited.
to have our own department.
Good. And so one of the things I will always say is if you're supporting this project, remind your friends that this is something that's near and dear to your heart, because that's really what gets people to think about giving is people who have said, hey, you know, this is something that's important to me. It might be worthwhile for you also to give to this project. So don't just give, but also share that message that the oncology services at Titusville Hospital are important to you, and encourage others to, you know, match your gift.
Yes.
Yes.
And for everyone that's already given today and yesterday, thank you so much.
Yes, thank
we
you.
appreciate
Thank you.
the support. There's no donation too small, so thank you so much.
There's also no
Thank you.
donation too large.
You are correct. Yes, just one big one would be great.
Yes.
Right.
We only need really one, very large. Yeah.
So-
Thank you, everyone.
Yes,
All right.
thank you.
Well, thanks for your time this morning. And we'll take a short break and be back in a few. And I'm Christian Marr for the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation, and we are well into Crawford Gives, and so far more than $340,000 has been raised for 157 different nonprofit organizations in the county. There are about 170 different organizations participating in Crawford Gives this year. And now I am joined by Emily Altamar. And you, I forget who you're talking to.
I'm talking to you about Titusville Renaissance. That is a fair thing to not know who I'm here for.
You wear many hats.
I do, and I had to stop and think about it too when I was coming in. I was like, wait, who am I here for versus who am I donating to for the 100% board participation?
Right.
So I did my donations already before I got here this morning.
I did my donations this morning too.
Good.
Before I came in, I'm like, I need to figure this out. Usually I leave it till the absolute last minute.
Ooh, you're in there at like 11:55 Tuesday evening.
And I control the system, so I can really do anything.
That's dangerous. You probably shouldn't admit that on camera. But.
Well, I can't change everything. Like, I can't change the amount that you've given.
Right, you just add zeros to everybody's donation. Like,
that would be
their
tempting.
best year yet. If only. I think
only.
if you had the ability to put that money into people's bank accounts so that they could donate on those levels, they would agree to that.
There you go. I mean, we are going to add a little bit of money to everybody's gifts. So.
That's right, which is why it's so important to donate now during Crawford Gives.
Right. So Titusville Renaissance, what are you guys doing?
We're actually doing a lot. We've been doing a lot. We're always doing a lot, but I think it's really in the last few years we participated in a grant that gave us the opportunity to do some community placemaking. So that has been sort of a focus over the last 3 years where we've been doing some things for branding the city of Titusville, the community calendar, which is a pretty new feature that's on the city's website. So Jess Hilburn, who's on our board, has been very instrumental in getting that calendar up and running and encouraging people to donate or to submit their events and share things with us.
Jess is a rock star.
She is a rock star. She's so much of a rock star, she can't be here today to participate to talk about Titusville Renaissance, but she'll be here, I think, in your next segment to talk about Benson Memorial Library. Yeah, there's a lot of people with a lot of hats, but that works. It's synergy, right?
Well, this is what I've talked about all morning, is none of us have the capacity on our own to do all of the things to make our community the vibrant place that it is. But when we work together, and we work together effectively,
absolutely,
we are able to do a little bit more heavy lifting.
Exactly.
And so, especially, trying to get people who maybe have moved away, and still have a fond feeling about the community, and get them to, put some money in, and those who also live here to, put a little bit of money in, especially those who are younger, who maybe aren't used to charitable giving.
Right. This is a good opportunity to get in charge. And see, there is the calendar right there. So the logo is a product of that placemaking effort, along with the calendar itself. We're working on public art projects such as the new utility box covers. So I don't
which
think
Erie has done very successfully.
Yeah, and even Northeast PA has some nice examples of that too, which kind of on a smaller scale.
Right.
So we're working on that. So that's part of our fundraising is public art specifically, but also just kind of helping to fund those placemaking projects that are still out there. Things on the list, the maybe not low hanging fruit, but the mid-range hanging fruit. But also speaking of fruit, Titusville Open Air Market is one of the projects of Titusville Renaissance.
Leah would not allow you to forget that.
No, definitely not. And Leah would love to have been here, but she is just getting out of the eye doctor, and she is
dilated.
Yeah, she is dilated and probably not the TV personality she would like to be for this morning.
Right.
But yeah, so Titusville Open Air Market, we've got National Trails. Oh, see, I got to keep up with the visuals that are on the screen. So yes, that is the undecorated
which are clearly
utility box.
Horrible.
Yeah, they could be.
There's a lot to be done.
I mean, and they certainly don't blend in with a historic downtown for sure. So
no.
We're going to turn those into opportunities for both art, but also a little bit of a history lesson, kind of taking you back in time or connecting you with things that Titusville has brought to the world. Things like crayons and hula hoops and other things from the oil boom or just history throughout, you know, John Heisman and Ida Tarbell, like, you know, famous names and activities and improvements that have come from the history of Titusville too. So
all important stuff.
Yeah.
And all the things that, like you said, talking about placemaking, talking about things that make it a vibrant community, make people want to make Titusville a destination. And, you know, I forget who we've talked to. We talked to Drake Well first thing this morning. You know,
that's one of my boards, so that was one of my donations for today.
So, you know, getting people to come and, you know, visit the museum.
Getting people to get inside Drake Well Museum, like some people, you know, they fish there all the time, but they don't necessarily go in and look at the exhibits, or they don't necessarily attend the multitude of events that happen throughout the year.
And then the Oil Creek and Titusville Railroad, who are going right through, and, you know, you've got recreational opportunities there.
A lot of history connection, and the two of those organizations work great together. And then one of my other hats, my day job hat, is tourism. So the fact that those are two of the main entities that are bringing people in from all over the country and the world, and introducing them to not just the oil history, but the community and the flavor of Titusville.
Because I mean, you always have the people who are the naysayers who are like, oh, there's nothing to do here, and which is, we can see the calendar, we know that is clearly not true. There's plenty going on. But like all things, we need a little bit more money to do some of those things. So supporting Renaissance and supporting that project, coming out to the Farm to Table Feast and all those things.
Farm to Fork, September 16th. So tickets are on sale now. I know I'm not supposed to promote other things while we're here, but like that's another one of those things. So,
but it all comes together. I mean, it's all of those things that make for a vibrant community.
And I think a lot of people don't realize how much, especially in a small community like ours, it's the nonprofits that are doing a lot of the things that are making it a fun place to live and work. Whether they're beautifying the community itself or holding the events that you like to go to, you know, the fun concerts, the parties, the events, the activities, a lot of those are actual fundraisers for our nonprofits, and they're ways that the nonprofits in the community are funding their own missions, but even their missions help make it a better place to live.
Right. Yeah. So it's all good stuff. That's, you know, all of us doing a little bit of the heavy lifting to make our region vibrant. And there's the Farm to Fork. So check that out. And again, also utilizing local vendors, which
absolutely.
Keeping that money here is essential.
Right. So it's supporting both the farmers market vendors, but also local chefs are making the food, local wineries, local beer,
local entertainment,
live music at that event too. And again, and it takes place at Drake Well on the train depot for the OC&T. So again, that synergy and connection between those organizations, getting everybody familiar with what we do, what we have to offer here, and feeling good about Titusville.
Yeah. Right. Cool.
Do you have more questions?
No. I mean,
we could just go on and on.
You really could.
The Victorian clock and garden here in Titusville is a Titusville Renaissance project. We could really challenge Luke and be like, "Where's your photo of that?" But I'm sure he's like, "Okay, wait, I've got it." If you go to the Titusville Renaissance page of Crawford Gives, there's a photo of that there.
Oh, there you go. And so again, you can always visit profiles for every organization that's involved and see photos and video in some cases of projects that people are working on and what they're hoping to raise funds for. And so you don't have to make a decision about what you're giving to blind. You can make an informed decision about.
Absolutely. And see, so it doesn't have to even be an organization that you're familiar with. If you just kind of start scrolling through and oh, who is this? What do they do? Oh, that's close to my heart too. I can add them to my cart and keep donating and donating. And I don't know if you've hit on this already this morning, but I will also just remind people that option to cover the credit card fee is a nice little addition. It's not that much. It's like what? $1.88 for $50, I think is what it turned out to be this morning. Go ahead and click that button. Help cut down the overhead for Crawford Gives and the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation as much as you can. I encourage people to do that all the time when you're donating in any kind of organization in any kind of process. That little bit helps.
We do find that about 75% of our donors do that.
Good.
So, it is super helpful.
Good. Yeah, every little bit helps, and sometimes that's just that little credit card fee as an organizer. It's hard, and we're like, oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, so do that little extra stuff.
All right. Cool. All right. Thank you very much. It's perfect.
Okay.
See, you were perfect on your own.
Oh yeah, see, I got it. We
You
could
didn't need
talk
any
about
help.
many other organizations. Who's next? I can just keep going.
Well, we have Jess and
Okay.
Becky from
Yes,
the Benson
Becky
Memorial
is
Library.
downstairs.
So
I saw her already, so she'll
so-
be ready to talk about all their cool projects.
All right.
But thank you for having me.
All right.
Thank you for doing Crawford Gives and creating opportunities for all of us nonprofits to get the name out and get a little more help with our fundraising.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Christian.
And take a break.
Okay.
I'm Christian Marr from the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation, and we're knee-deep into our Crawford Gives program. And so far, $347,000, or a little bit more, has been raised for 160 nonprofits. That means there are, I think, 10 organizations who have raised nothing so far. So I'm hoping that they that they all find donors who are embrace their mission and give us some cash. You'll notice a lovely photo by our friend John Mangine of John Mangine Photography as our background image. So I think that's Paima Tuning. Next year we're going to get some more representative photos of the entire county. But in the grand scheme of many things that I've been unable to do was get photos from everywhere. And joining us are Jess Hilburn and Becky Stahl from the Benson Memorial Library, who are rock stars of Crawford County and
Thank you.
doing great things. Tell us more about the library and what kinds of stuff you guys have going on.
In addition to all of the normal library type stuff that we always do, two of our big things right now are improving the accessibility of the library. So we've done a lot of improvements with making ADA upgrades, with our computers, our entrances, all that kind of stuff. So we're very invested in making sure that everyone's welcome at the library all the time and everybody can enjoy everything we have. And another thing that we're doing is something called a Family Place Initiative, where we were selected in a nationally competitive program to become a Family Place library. And this is something that Becky is pioneering for children because it's for kids and parents ages birth to 3, and she would love to talk more about that.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
would love to hear more about it.
So as part of a library or a Family Place library, we have two parts of that program. One is we offer parent-child workshops twice a year, and these are opportunities for parents of very young children to come to the library and play for a whole hour, not just with me, but with other community experts. So we brought in somebody who knows about child development, somebody who knew a lot about nutrition, and somebody who brought in just information about how to incorporate music and movement with your child at that age. So that's amazing. And then the other part that we do is we've kind of redesigned the children's space of the library, so it's a lot more of a play space than it was before. If you haven't stopped in the past 5 months or so, you should absolutely come take a look. When you step into the kids' room, we now have these extremely fun sensory tiles. I go back into the room to put books away just so I could step on them really quick. It's a lovely thing, and all the kids think it's so cool just when you first walk in. We now have a train table that everyone can play with, and it's just such a bright and cheery place right now.
Yep, and we're working on some more upgrades to the space. We hope to paint, we're upgrading more of our furniture. We have a lot of things on the docket that we're going to be introducing for our young families, because it's a segment of the population that tends to get ignored a little bit, because a lot of our stuff is geared toward our, toddlers and up sort of age groups, so we're finally targeting our young kids.
Right, and a lot of people think, well, it's the library, and obviously, the babies can't read, why would we take them there? And it's like, well, yeah, they're not reading words, but we're very capable of teaching the skills that you need at that age in order to get yourself to be a reader, and being in a space that's just surrounded by all sorts of exciting books absolutely adds to that.
But and I think all the research shows that children who are read to are way ahead of their peers.
And they're more ready for school.
And so all of those things, and this goes back to, we spoke with Kelly from Titusville Literacy Council earlier, and again, the theme that is played out throughout the morning is the overlap between organizations and how, all of us fill a niche in each of these things, but that we all support each other, and that we all provide kind of ancillary, auxiliary kind of services. So, if for example, you find someone who's struggling reading to their child and needs help, you're doing referrals to those programs that need them. But you're also, again, in this situation, introducing experts on various things, which I think is really fantastic.
Yeah, it's been great, even for me, because I wasn't totally sure, who do I send people to for speech and language if we're having problems at that age? So I got to reach out to a whole bunch of people, and I learned a lot through them as well.
Yeah, and it's helped to bring a lot of our kids and young families in, because now, along with the other 9 libraries in the system, we've gone fine-free for the last few years. So while we don't have that source of income anymore, it has made it so that people are welcomed back into the library. We're clearing your old accounts as long as you don't have things that haven't been returned. Those we kind of deal with separately, but they're all overdue fines are all gone. So just making sure that people know that they can come back to the library and enjoy all the things that we have to offer, even if they don't necessarily want to get a card, which we hope they do, but you're welcome in the library. Anybody is. We serve people who aren't from here. We do genealogy, which we're really known for in the county. And we have a great adult services librarian, Megan, who does all of that for people. And I think we've really tried hard to build a name for ourselves in these different areas of how we serve the residents of Titusville and all over the county.
So it's not just your grandparents' library where you just go and get a book on the weekend and bring it back.
Well, that's wonderful, and we definitely want you to do
we
that.
want their grandparents. We want them to come too.
We do, but we also have a variety of other things to offer. Yeah.
When I've talked to you, I mean, I'm a Libby guy, and so like most of my giving or most of my borrowing is online. Although I have been into the library and I borrowed a graphic novel from you, and then I returned it late because I knew I could.
Yeah, we did.
Because I only get over to Titusville about once a month. Hopefully twice if things are going well.
Yeah.
But I knew I was going to be late. But I'm like, I really, they don't have this in Meadville, so. Yeah. But I found out I could have returned it to Meadville, and they would have sent it back over.
Yeah, you can, because we all work together. You can return items at any of our 9-member libraries, and they'll get back to their home. Or you can request things from other libraries, and we can get them for you. A great thing about Pennsylvania is that as long as your municipality pays into a library with tax dollars, then you can get a free library card at any library in Pennsylvania. So I have like 10 library cards
See,
everywhere I travel.
Yeah, I've got the Free Library of Philadelphia, which is my favorite. But Meadville Public Library is close to my heart because that's where I live.
Yeah.
And like you guys, they're expanding what a library is supposed to be.
Yes.
And offering services to all sorts of people. And I'm really excited to hear about the family placemaking because that's really cool stuff. And I think anything that builds community, I mean, it's in our name, so we want to see that.
Right.
But all of those things are really what make it worthwhile to, raise a family here. And
exactly. Yeah. And we do work so closely with all these other organizations, whether it's Titusville Renaissance or the Oil Region Alliance or the Literacy Council, all of these different organizations. We collaborate constantly, and not just on our initiative, but on theirs too. Them coming up with ideas and seeing ways we can partner and sort of maximize the funding that we have all together to offer things for people.
And you're all serving on each other's boards and supporting those missions. And again, my special push this year is to try and get the expats back into the fold and try and identify people who've moved away, who've done very well, and still have I know for me as a young person, Miss Anderson was my children's librarian growing up, and without her and her recommendations of books and things, I wouldn't be the person that I am right now. And so you're building that next generation of kids who are going to someday look back and they're like, I really ought to send a check to the library because Miss Becky every year would
she's always got the great book recommendations.
Right.
Yeah, we like to really personalize our service. We want to, we know you when you come through the door and give you a smile and wonder what you're reading lately and stuff like that. We have those very personal relationships with our patrons, and we appreciate that.
But 40 years later, for me to remember my childhood librarian,
that's awesome.
She was special.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, she made an impact. Yeah.
And she was a character, so she really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm definitely sticking with the kids then.
For sure.
So, great job. I mean, you guys do good stuff. I mean,
thank you.
I've always been pretty.
Yeah,
impressed,
I saw one of the pictures that popped up on the screen. There was a program we just had, which was we had the party pigs from Cochranton.
Oh
over.
Yeah,
and
Lacey,
we had over 140 people come to that program, which was fantastic for us, and they did a wonderful job. But we like to integrate some of those more out of the box type things where we like to bring animals and we like to be creative. And Becky and Megan are so good at getting creative with the community and offering new things that they might like. One of our big programs right now too is a program that Megan's doing with crafting, and we have a nice group of young people that come in and do crafts and just talk and bond, and it's a great way to meet new people by coming to the library.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Encourage people to enter those crafts in the fair.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea.
That's a great idea. That's one of the things that I'm thinking about because I'm chair of the fruit and vegetable section now.
I saw.
Which that and a nickel will not even get you a cup of coffee. But all of these things that we think are essential to our quality of life, the fair, the libraries, and all the nonprofit organizations, really finding more ways for us to be intertwined and
Yes.
Building on our quality of life are really important. So.
Yeah, I know that in the time I've been on the Crawford County Planning Commission, it's really opened my eyes to the community building and all the ways we are so integrated, but we sometimes in Crawford County we feel kind of isolated.
Yeah.
But things like the fair, because I was there last week and I know you were, and those things really bring us together. And I think the library is one of those entities that even though we are in all our separate communities, we're all very brought together through our love of that.
And I'm excited with Crawford County Planning to see the comprehensive plan that comes out.
Yep.
And
We're working hard.
Good job on that. I'm on the steering committee for that. So
well, thank you. Thank you for your service.
Well, thank
Appreciate
you for
it.
your service. We'll just pat each other on the back all morning.
Somebody has to. But yeah, we've been working really hard on the comprehensive plan, and we had installations at all 9 libraries over the summer to get people's feedback about what they like in their communities and what they want to see. And we did that at the fair. We got a ton of responses. It was fantastic. We partnered with the 4-H ice cream, which was very popular because that's like one of the best things at the fair. We found out. So
always a very long line.
Yeah, but yeah, we've been working hard on it, and that'll be coming out next year.
Yeah, but I'd love to see these shared work toward our goals for the community.
Yeah, I think that's the only way we'll really be successful.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll take a quick break and be right back. Christian Marr from the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation, and we've broken the $350,000 threshold of giving to Crawford Gives, and 160 different nonprofit organizations have received gifts from 1,679 people, and so we're getting close to about surpassing the number of total gifts given last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow,
so,
that's awesome.
So lots of work to be done still, hopefully. Last year we raised about $700,000, so we're about halfway to that number.
Yeah, it's looking good.
We'll see. So I'm joined by Holly Sprung from the Titusville YMCA.
Give it away.
It is. I mean, you have to represent, right?
Yes, I wore my Crawford Gives shirt last month, I believe, on the show here. Yeah.
We appreciate that. So you guys are always busy, always doing like 5 million things.
We are. Yeah, we are. Yep, but that's why we like it. That's what we do. We're here for the community, so.
And that's what we've been talking about all morning.
I know. It's been so great listening to everybody and everything they're doing.
Well, and especially with the YMCA, I talk to a lot of folks who are planning their charitable giving for like big bequests and things. And, you know, the example that I always use is one of the Community Foundation's founders was Dwight Haas, who used to run the YMCA in Meadville. And I have donors now who grew up going on camping trips with Y and things, and the same thing happens here. And I know Luke's sports guy did a lot of things at the Y, Bruce.
Yes,
and
for
so,
sure.
Like, people remember growing up with Bruce, and I'm sure other people who I don't know throughout the years.
Yeah, and we love to hear all those Y stories, for sure.
Right, but these are things that were formative events in people's development that.
Absolutely.
And I think people don't necessarily think about, oh, you know, if this organization helped shape me as a person, I might have a responsibility to now give back.
Yeah, it's a place where I feel connected to. So, you know, give where you play or where you live, and
or if I've
what
moved
means
away,
something to you. Yes.
Like,
yeah, exactly. Where you built those core memories or help turn you into who you are. Yeah.
Right.
We love to hear all of that.
You know, I mean, you've probably had this experience of learning things through sports and
100%.
Great values and things. So.
Right. Yeah, and you know, we offer those things that are not so sport type things like outdoor club and things like that. And you know, one of the big things like what you're talking about leads perfectly into like our goal this year is to kind of bring back some of that feel from the downtown Y. You know, people miss that robust, live, fun after school crowd where people could just like, they go to the Y after school.
Yeah.
And one thing when we moved to our new building, which we love and it's great and beautiful and
after school's next door.
And clean, and after last week, is kind of that teen space. So we're trying to build that up again and bring back some of that. So that's where some of the funds from Crawford Gives this year are being focused toward, is to help enhance more of those youth and teen spaces. So there's a safe space for the youth in the community to come after school if they're not working or in a sport or something else, you know, where they can come in and play ping pong, or they can work out, or we're hoping to get a new foosball table because ours is gone, trashed. It was, their heads were off of it and such. So it had seen better days. And so just this money through Crawford Gives will really help us, you know, revamp and revitalize and bring back some of that fun, old school, I guess, sort of energy to the Y that some of their parents may have had or experienced growing up.
And I've been here a little more than 20 years, and what I've heard consistently is we do not have enough opportunities for our young people, especially the teens, and so filling that gap is really super important.
It is, and we try to, you know, put out programs that the kids are going to want to do and the parents are going to be able to get them to if they can't get there themselves.
Right.
And that's a challenge when, you know, working families and transportation and things like that. But, you know, we're not that far from the schools, really.
Right.
It's definitely walking distance. And we've kind of restructured some of our wellness center policies even. We've really went back down to the basics and are now allowing younger kids in the wellness center because we do want to build that, that core belief that, you know, health and exercise and wellness is like a lifelong thing.
Right.
And
that's what I was talking to the pickleball people about this morning.
And because stay active, find something you like to do.
Right.
And not make it so scary or intimidating. And so we've opened it up to 8-year-olds. We have an orientation program they have to come through and sign something with their parents and teach them how to use the cardio machines, and depending on their age level, you know, we do things that are age appropriate with them in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're excited to kind of open up more and be more inclusive and opening or to the young people in the community.
Well, and you want to see health and wellness become part of everyone's life. for a number of reasons. I mean, it makes you feel better. It reduces the burden on the medical center
Right,
and
absolutely.
Titusville Hospital. And
Yep, less days missed of school and work. And
right, and all of those things.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, and general lifelong
Just
well-being.
Yeah,
right.
we've learned so much about mental health in the past few years too, and the people that maybe seem physically fit say, I'm here because this is like my happy place. This is my sane place. This is where I come to clear my mind, or it's my me time.
Yep.
And
that's
it's a stress release.
That is why I'm a Y member, and
yeah,
and I mean, I had an injury a few years ago, so I mean, it's my rehab space.
Right. Yes.
I mean, I'm making sure that I do not have
so much of that. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Even preparing for to be out for surgery.
Right.
I just talked to somebody this morning. My surgery date is in 3 weeks, so I'm here.
You have to build muscle,
been here.
and and all of us are aging, and sometimes we need joint replacements, or we want to avoid, in my case, trying to avoid a joint replacement.
Yeah, right.
And so trying to do all the right things.
All the strengthening things that we can do and we can help you with and support you through it too. It's even emotionally, like we were talking before, knowing that somebody is there that we notice. We're close with our members. I mean, we're lucky that we are a small town, but when someone's not there for a while, we notice.
Yeah.
Or the other members notice. So we do take pride in that, being super caring and like a kind of a family there with our members.
Yeah. And I think that's the theme that's developed across this morning for us, is talking about all of those overlaps, and that building that cohesive community is really what makes this place a better place to live.
Absolutely.
Than if you were in a big city or somewhere else where you could go unnoticed if you stopped going to the gym.
We really appreciate, the foundation and Crawford Gives for making, this special day about Titusville and making us feel an important part of Crawford County as well, because we are, and so we really appreciate that and being included and having the special time to shine, and hope that people remember Titusville, and we're really not that far away.
Well, and again, we're making an effort to, be here physically, and if people want to make gifts, a physical check kind of gift, we can make arrangements to pick that up. We can have things if you're making a gift. Not just to the Y, but I know things can be left with Holly, and we'll come pick them up and make sure that we get them in our hands.
And I have ways of getting things to Meadville.
Right, and so we've got staff that can do these things. So we want to make charitable giving easier for everybody. And so a lot of what we're doing is,
and this really does,
trying to get people who maybe moved away, or people who are younger and aren't used to charitable giving, and don't really know that it's something
they do, but maybe not so sure how to do it, or they know that things mean a lot to them, I think, in certain places and spaces, and that this is a great opportunity to do that.
You can give your $5 or $10,
and it goes further through Crawford Gives.
Right, a little bit further. Hopefully.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So we're excited. It's a great time of year for us.
Anything you want to add before we?
Just come check us out if you're not sure about what's happening at the Titusville YMCA. We're at 510 West Main Street, and we also have an education center for free childcare, and we feed the children after school as well. So lots of opportunities. I taught a class this morning, so I'm in my Y t-shirt, and we wear lots of hats there as well. And we're happy to give you a tour and show you around and help you achieve whatever goals you might have, because it's different for everybody, for sure.
Cool. All right, thanks. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Christian Maher from the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation, and we are knee-deep into the 5th annual Crawford Gives. And more than $360,000 has been raised. We're hoping to raise a lot more money than that for organizations throughout the county. And every gift that's made, we will match a small percentage of in an effort to make the impact of those gifts even larger. I'm going to be here physically in Titusville for probably another hour or so today. I think we're in the afternoon now. It's no longer morning. But if there are folks who want to make a contribution to Crawford Gives and you're worried about your check arriving in time, call us at 814-336-5206 and we'll make an effort to come out and collect those checks. But the easiest way to give is by credit card on the website, crawfordgives.org. And you can select any organization that you want to support. You can select one, you can select 10, you can select all 170 if you really wanted to. But really think about the things that are near and dear to your heart. We still have a few, like the Conneaut Boys Lacrosse, that don't have any money yet. And so if those organizations are important to you, feel free to make that charitable gift and to share that on social media so that you can maybe encourage others to make a difference in our community and make things, what we keep saying, that trying to make Crawford County a better place to live, learn, work, and raise a family. And now I'm joined by Will Price. Will, are you still interim executive director at the United Way of the Titusville region?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, still the title.
Cool. So tell me more about what the United Way is doing these days. And
yeah, we're really looking at the health, education, and income of all the residents in the Titusville region. Our biggest program that we're currently running right now is the Imagination Library, which provides free books to children under the age of 5 in hopes to raise that 3rd grade reading level by the 3rd grade, and really building that family interaction that we see with the program of, opening a lot more conversations about career paths and, issues, bullying, those social peer pressure program or issues that they're having in school and out of school. So, currently we have about 250 Titusville resident students enrolled in the program. We have mailed out over 1,900 books since last year, so we are super excited about that program and the life of that program and to come.
So we've always been very excited about Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, great program, and one that is available also in Meadville.
Yes.
So not just available in the Titusville region,
exactly,
but this goes along with, really the theme of the day has been community.
Yep.
And how each of our organizations overlap and work together and are working cooperatively towards certain goals. So we had earlier Kelly from the Titusville Regional Literacy Council talking about the work that they do to fill some of these gaps for reading and things. We just had Benson Memorial Library folks in, and talking about how the research shows that children who are read to have better outcomes in the long term. And so this is a part of that larger effort to increase literacy, make sure that parents are reading to their children, that when you supply a book, hopefully when you supply a book for free, hopefully that's another way that
a lot of our families in Crawford County have that hard choice to buy a book or potentially feed their family or pay that utility bill. So if we can just supply that book to help increase that, and 10 minutes of reading a day, data shows it changes the kid's life forever. giving them the education and working collaboratively with other agencies in the community will just build our base for Crawford County even better, so every resident has that stable life. It's a key project at United Way is just, collaboratively working together with other agencies to make the community better.
And hopefully seeing children who are ready to go into school, reading, prepared to, tackle everything else that's going to get thrown at them.
Kids are dealing with so much more than just the historical education issues, all the mental health that we're seeing in our students. And, we just want to make sure every kid's ready to learn, ready to be prepared for their first day of school and every year. And our kids going into kindergarten, we want to make sure there's that next step further and further away. So.
Gotcha. And you've got a meeting coming up talking about your United Way Alice report.
Yep.
If you want to talk about
it. So on Thursday, we're having an Alice meeting, relaunching the public information, the Alice information, which Alice stands for Asset Limited Income Constraint Employed. So it's really looking at the individuals that are working but living one crisis away from poverty. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Crawford County is 28% Alice population, which is, including those lower income families. So, overall the whole county, we're on a higher rate than some of our other partners and our partner counties around us. But really supporting those individuals that, are that one crisis away. And that crisis could be needing a car inspection or needing tires on your car or your refrigerator broke.
Or health-related.
Or health-related issues, having that medical issue that you're in the hospital for a day.
Right.
And it's a choice of, do you pay that bill or do you pay your utility assistance or utility bill? And you got to make that hard choice. So, supporting those residents in that area and not just focusing on those lower income families. We're taking that next step and looking at the families that are really working, really trying to make that effort and making sure they're supported so they're not falling back into poverty, into that cycle of issues.
Right.
So that meeting is in Titusville at Town Square at 10 a.m. And we encourage anyone in the public to come to that meeting. So.
And for Crawford Gives, you're raising money specifically for Dolly Parton's Imagination Library?
Yes. Yep. So all funds raised through Crawford Gives will go towards that program. 100% of all that, all those donations will go to that.
Cool. And I see you've received 2 gifts so far towards that, and hopefully we'll have a lot more people who will help reach that $1,500 goal. And again, as you know, I share office space with the United Way of Western Crawford County, so I see these books every month, and so they're always
they're high quality, age appropriate books.
Right. I mean, this isn't just something that just fell off a truck.
No, the research, partnering with the Dolly Foundation and Dollywood Foundation,
Dolly does good stuff.
She does.
It's really impressive.
We support it here locally, but she's really taken the bulk of researching the books and looking for those age appropriate books and just making sure every book is high quality to spread the love of reading. So it's a great partnership.
Yeah, and I've read those books to other folks, young children, obviously.
Absolutely.
And they're always interesting, always worthwhile.
Yeah. And there's some of the national-owned books, like The Engine That Could, or I'm Ready for Kindergarten, and some of those books that, we read as a kid, they're still important, and they still have that high education level that kids today are getting.
So these things, again, it costs money to send a free book to young people. So if that's something that's important to you and you want to see more of, think about making a charitable contribution to the United Way of the Titusville region to help make sure that those books get into the right hands and that parents are able to read to their children, and grandparents and aunts and uncles, in my case, and we're continuing to make good strides in raising that next level of young people. So keep up the good work. We
Well, thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank
and,
you for your support and everything you do at the foundation for, Crawford and Hull.
And hopefully a lot more people will jump on the bandwagon and support your project this year.
Absolutely.
All right.
We appreciate it.
All right, we'll take a quick break and then we'll be back. And I'm Christian Marr from the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation. We're working on Crawford Gives, our 5th annual Crawford Gives. And right now it's looking like we are on track to beat the total number of gifts given over last year's amount, which I think was about 1,920 if I'm not mistaken. I could be just pulling that number out of the air. So that's great. We're still about a little more than halfway to what we raised last year, which I think was about $770,000. And so there's a lot of room for people to continue to make charitable gifts in support of organizations that serve Crawford County and make our community a better place to live, learn, work, and raise a family. And with me right now is Jennifer Burden from the Oil Region Alliance of Business, Industry, and Tourism, if I am to get the whole
You got the whole thing correct.
Who has been a frequent beneficiary of discretionary grants from the Community Foundation. And so I know a lot about well, I know enough to be dangerous about what kinds of things you're doing. And I know here in Titusville, you've been renovating the Scheide House.
Correct.
And you also over many years, renovated the Ida Tarbell House and have put a lot of interactive historical things there to interpret the history of Ida Tarbell and her work in journalism. And now the Scheide House, which I don't know many people know, used to house a copy of the Gutenberg Bible,
Yes.
which was one of its claims to fame. And Bill Scheide, I believe, gave it to the Titusville School District at one point, and
Yes,
you guys took it on from them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So would you like to tell us more about that project?
Sure. So we commonly just refer to it as the Scheide House. It is the house located at 221 North Washington. The house itself was built in the 1860s and was a house for several decades. And the Scheide family bought it in the 20s. And the most significant thing about the house during the Scheide's period of ownership is that they added a full fireproof library to the back side of the house.
Which architecturally is really impressive.
It's very impressive.
It looks like a movie set.
Well, we'd love to use that as a movie set if Hollywood would ever call us. That would be fine. We can do that. It's definitely in that 1920s, you'd hear architectural historians call it Tudor Gothic or something along those lines. So very castle-y looking, some gargoyles, some that are referenced to literary works, and they built it for their library. So you mentioned the Gutenberg Bible. That was just one of many items in their collection. So it's fireproof. The walls are about 18 inches thick. It has a full basement, and that was their library until the Scheides gave the house to the Titusville Area School District in 1959. And the school district owned the house until about 2018 or 19, and it was their administrative offices from 59 to about 2016. When Bill Scheide handed that over, part of the collection was already given to Princeton.
Yeah.
And to this day, as last I looked, it's still the most valuable donation to Princeton University at worth about $300 million.
It's an amazing story.
It's very amazing.
It's a shame that those books aren't still here, but it's a wonderful story.
Just thinking about an original Gutenberg Bible and a copy of the Declaration of Independence, I'm glad it's safely housed at Princeton, because I think I would not sleep at night if that was
they
still
have
there.
the ability to curate those things.
Yes, and they kind of recreated the Scheide Library at Princeton.
That's what I understand. I was on the campus once and I went looking for it, but I wasn't able to track it down.
Okay.
So I'll have to make that an effort for that.
That's one of those things. The next time I'm in New Jersey, I definitely want to get over there and see what it looks like. Yeah, there we go. There. Can we raise money for that too?
Oh, maybe.
Christian and Jen's road trip to Jersey.
There you go. I think we probably could. We probably have donors there.
I could see that.
See?
Yeah.
I'll bet you there's a way to do that.
So we've been renovating the Scheide House in phases. to become a cultural preservation center for not just Titusville, but the general oil region as well, with the hopes that nonprofits can rent spaces on the first floor. And we have at least, I'd say, about 6 spaces that are available for like office type rentals. And maybe the tenants who eventually, whoever those may be, will give them some space and give them a chance to even work together in that area. But the library itself will not be a standalone office. We will continue to use that for event space.
How much money would I have to offer to use that? Just kidding.
We have not set prices yet, since it is still ongoing. But right now, you probably wouldn't want to spend too much for the library because we need a dehumidification system and an air conditioning system, which is what we're raising money for for this round. If you were to have a meeting in there right now, it gets stuffy. Yes. So we want to do it historically appropriately so we don't intrude on the space, but also make it comfortable for those using the space as well. Right. But that's the plan for that particular library room, is that we didn't want to make it somebody's office and then the public never got to see it.
Right, because it is really impressive.
It is.
I mean, I've been lucky enough to take a tour and kind of see the progress of this, and to see how you've managed these kind of mixed-use spaces where there's some residential apartments that kind of underwrite some of the costs of the building as well, and in this case, office space that will help to support the long-term.
We're definitely looking at multiple rental opportunities for this particular building. So the office spaces on the first floor is definitely one. Renting the library itself is another. Eventually, we want to have 2 apartments in the upstairs portion, again, to kind of offset some of these costs. And having people living there gives us ears and eyes on the building at all times.
Right.
We're also talking about having storage space rental in the basement, because for as large as that building is, it's a full basement, so we got a lot of space.
Well, and it was a big attic too, so.
Yes, the attic, we're gonna leave that alone for the moment, with the sprinkler system that's going in. That's gonna take up some of the space. But the basement, which is actually being worked on right now, to remove like old utility equipment and to get the space ready for somebody to rent, or actually multiple entities to rent. So we're going to have a lot of things going on there. So we're hoping that it'll become a community type hub and bring nonprofits together, but bring the public in as well for events, workshops, lectures, whatever we have going on. And it'd be an affordable medium-sized rental space as well for those types of things.
And if we can get Hollywood to come. And
if we can get Hollywood to come, that would be awesome, because we could charge them a lot of money. We don't have to stay on market rate for that.
Yeah, and it really is. I mean, it's a very cinematic space.
It is. And unfortunately, or fortunately, when all the donation was made to Princeton, they removed all the shelving and some of the decorative features, but that also kind of gives it as a blank slate to where you can make your own library, your own office in there, Hollywood, and to work with that space. But we have the original fireplace is still there, the two or three chandeliers that were in the room. Princeton forgot to grab those, so we still have them, which is really nice. And the leaded glass windows are just a nice backdrop and fits with that Tudor Gothic feeling of the 1920s, so has a lot of potential. We're really glad to keep the project moving, and like I said, we've been doing this in phases. We are a nonprofit, and we are fortunate enough to receive funding, but never fortunate enough to have all the funding all at once. So it's taken several years, and of course COVID and the pandemic did us no favors as far as delays, but we're getting there. You can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
And so this is a way that somebody who's passionate about historic preservation can really make a difference in making sure that I mean, it's a really unique architectural treasure. There's not much.
Really
like
is. It's one of those. There's so many large homes in Titusville, and they're all equally impressive in their own rights, but this library definitely adds that little extra something, or a lot extra something to the story of not just the property and of the family, but of Titusville itself. Like, who would have thought that a family could have such a collection like that. Here they are in Titusville, of all places.
Right.
But
I know, I just love that story.
It's so impressive. When I first heard it, I was like, no, but no, it was true. These were all original documents that they were collecting and keeping here in Titusville.
Yeah, and I'm just sad that I never got the opportunity to meet Bill Scheide and learn more about it, directly from him.
Yeah, I would love to hear some of the stories of how they were able to come across some of these materials. Not so much, well, how much did you pay for it, but how did you know that this was available, and how were you able to get it over? There are a lot of other collectors out there as well, but very impressive collection that I would love to see sometime in person at Princeton University.
Maybe we need a bus trip.
We could get a charter bus,
right? We can have Emily take us. We can get a van and have Emily drive.
We have for years now. Pre-pandemic, I have said that the Oil Region Alliance needs a van because we often get groups that come in and our roads are not to us they're straightforward, but to others, especially not familiar with Western Pennsylvania roads, can get confusing. I'd love to be able to take tours around, and so we get one of those. We head east.
You guys have a lot. You've got the Neiltown Church, Tarboro House that we already mentioned, and I don't keep too much on top of all the other projects.
We are up to, I believe, 7 historic buildings, but that includes our offices in Oil City at 217 Elm Street, which was a former Pennzoil service station. Next door at 229 Elm was the former Salvation Army Citadel that was built in 1910, which is now, we've renovated into office spaces. And then our other large rehab project is the Downs building, also in Oil City, that again is another phased rehab project it's always has been a mixed use building, and looking to return it to that. So retail or something like that on the first floor, and then either offices or some sort of lodging on the upper floors. Nice. And then our other one is the Coal Oil Johnny House.
Oh, right, I forgot about that.
Yes, that one is actually in Oil Creek State Park, right next to the Rinn Farm station. So if you ever ride the OC&T, where they turn around.
Who we talked to this morning about
okay,
all these
great.
things.
So all these connections we can make.
Right.
So as the train is turning around, people can disembark, and we've been having open hours there to where as they get off the train, they can come through the house. But that's a circa 1850s farmhouse, and there's a whole story behind it with Coal Oil Johnny, but the thing I really like about it, it's one of the few pre-oil boom buildings still remaining in the region. So we can tell that story as well. So you can see that house, it's 4 rooms, just 1.5 stories, and think of that's what you would have seen here pre-oil, and then we can take them to Tarbell and Scheide, and he's like, this is post-oil when people were making lots of money.
Yeah, well, and I've talked to all the folks from the railroad, Oil Creek and Titusville Railroad this morning, and others, and talking about when this was the frontier.
Yes,
it was a whole different place than this is civilization now.
Oh, absolutely.
Back then, it was the cutting edge of America. Like, this was where you went to stake your claim and make your name known, and it was a little rough and
rough.
Tumble.
Yes, it's one of the last areas of Pennsylvania to be settled. So you think people were in Philadelphia, and then eventually in Pittsburgh for how many years, but really didn't make it out here until very late 1700s. And like you're saying, you were here because land was cheap. It wasn't the easiest to farm, so you were putting a lot of work into it. Yeah. And then oil comes along, which it was always known that oil was here, but it wasn't until Drake was able to drill that well and show that it was commercially viable, and then everything changed.
And then start to learn how to process it and all the things from that we learned at the Drake Well Museum. So it's all it all comes together. But
it really does. You start talking to people here, you see that all of our causes have a common thread, and often more than one common thread, and trying to work together to make each other successful is ultimately a goal that I'd like to see achieved. And I think the Scheide House is one of those, we can get a lot of people under one roof, and we can work together and have these brainstorming sessions and just help each other out.
Yeah, and I think that's been the theme all morning is none of us have the capacity on our own to do all of these things, but when we're working together, when we're all able to do some of the heavy lifting in the areas that we're experts at, we can make this place better. And for me at the Community Foundation, we've got money that predates the Community Foundation's existence that has its roots in the oil boom. That people, 100 years ago were like, hey, my family got pretty wealthy off this stuff. I should put some of this away and it will benefit our community in perpetuity. And so that's a good message for us now to be like, oh, hey, I made some money. I should put some of this money away in perpetuity. And so, we've got this mechanism now to do that through the Community Foundation. We're able to give some money back to organizations and projects like Scheide House and the Tarbell House to make sure that they continue to be worthwhile. And we always feel good about supporting Oil Region Alliance because you guys have the capacity to do these projects, and you've demonstrated that you can do them cost effectively and leverage additional monies for them.
There are a lot of pieces to that puzzle.
Right?
And we do have the capacity to do these projects, and they are not easy projects. But luckily we have a lot of experience under our belts to make them happen. And not that I want to toot our own horns, but it's something that it's a project like Scheide or Tarbell that we can take that on and take it on over a course of several years, and still have the wherewithal to see it through, return it to the community as something viable, and then go on to the next one. And it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of fitting those pieces of the puzzle together. But the end result, like if you go to Tarbell right now, the fact that we have a space on the first floor that we use for events and we give tours a lot, but have an apartment on the second floor to, again, help offset the costs and give ears and eyes to the building is wonderful. And to seeing the photos of what that house looked like when the Oil Region Alliance purchased it, I think in 2007.
And didn't have the
cupola
on it because it had been torn off at some point. But the historic building had the cupola, and so that was restored. And to see all the things that have gone on, and to have a little, and for us to have had a little bit of part.
Oh yes,
part of that
we couldn't do
really
this. Nice. We have our traditional sources of funding, but without the Community Foundation and the trusts and foundations that you oversee, they wouldn't be possible, or we would be adding so many more years onto these projects and wouldn't be able to move forward with new projects. And all the help we can get will help go a long way.
One of the things that we're hoping to do is also connect with people who grew up here, who maybe have moved on, who have built some wealth of their own, and want to support some things in our community. And there's the Cupola project. To see people who grew up here, who value this community, who value the history, want to see it preserved for the next generation. Hopefully they realize that they have a responsibility to give back in some way to these projects, and if they say that it's important to them, they put some money where their mouth is and all of that kind of thing. And so we're trying to enable that a little bit.
Well, we appreciate it because we always see one project leads to other projects, and you clean up one property, like the Tarbell house. That house was in pretty rough shape.
Rough shape, yeah.
But to see, not only did that benefit the community as a whole, but just the immediate neighbors who now have a viable building once again on the block.
Right.
And it looks really nice, and we try to keep it looking very nice. It changes the attitude just of the community as well. Like, look what we can do, and so we hope to continue doing that, and hope that that'll be the same thing with the Scheide house, which fortunately was not in rough shape like the Tarbell house, but
still,
turning it into
it had some deferred maintenance, though.
It did, and also just general things. We talk about restoration, rehabilitation, but then there are things that we need to do just to get it up to code.
For sprinkler systems.
Sprinkler system's a big one. We added an exterior lift off the back of the house.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was
that was some of our money too.
Yes, it was, so thank you. So now you can enter the first floor of the Scheide house and it is fully ADA compliant.
Right.
And that wasn't just putting a lift on, that was evening out thresholds. There were a lot of additions to that building, so we had to make everything very level, make all of the hallway widths the correct width for access. And then more recently, there already was a ADA compliant restroom on the first floor, but it was compliant several years ago. So we actually had to do some new work to it to bring it up to current code. So there's all these pieces. It's not just making the rooms pretty again. We have to take all of that into consideration. And the sprinkler system is definitely a huge piece of this. It will be fully sprinkled, if you will, every floor, including the basement and the attic and the true attic. So there's just another thing of sometimes your historic houses have more than one attic.
Which we've seen other places.
Yeah. So it's always a surprise working on historic buildings of just what you'll discover and how many changes there have been over the years. And that's definitely one of them. That wasn't the true roof line at some point. So we have the true attic and the attic.
All right. Well, thanks again. I appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you for having
more about
me.
Your project. Hopefully, we'll get a lot more people to give and support it, and if not through Crawford Gives, in other ways. And I look forward to seeing your progress.
All right. Thank you, Christian.
Thanks. And we'll be back in a few.
to? No.
And I'm Christian Marr from the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation, and we are doing the last interview of our live broadcast from the Titusville area. And Crawford Gives will go on through midnight on Tuesday, and I believe that's August 29th, tomorrow. And so there's still plenty of time to give. We are, you know, in my dreams, I hope that we reach the $1 million level this year with Crawford Gives. We had about gifts totaling about $770,000 last year. We're already very close to surpassing the total number of gifts given. So we've got. So I think our participation numbers are going to be way up from what they were last year. And so I'm joined now by Clark and Carol Hall, who are not only representatives of the Titusville Historical Society, but they're also donors to this project. And we were talking about, before we came on the air, the benefits of giving either by check or credit card, both of which are options. And the Community Foundation, we want to have all of the checks counted during this campaign. So we'll make arrangements if there are checks from Titusville that people want to make sure to get to us. We can arrange to pick them up, and we don't necessarily have to trust the mail.
No.
Which I sent a birthday card to my mother recently, and it still hasn't arrived. So sometimes these things, it also could be that I misaddressed it. I'm hoping not, but sometimes these things get lost. But we will do our absolute level best to make sure that we have everything in and counted for every organization. And already the Titusville Historical Society is more than halfway towards your goal.
That's wonderful.
For the year.
Yes.
And I see you guys have been very busy lately, trying to build the work that you've done. And you came with notes today, so
Well,
I'm just going to let you tell us a little bit more about the projects that you're working on.
Well, we talked about the fact that we are in the Parkside building now.
I saw. That's exciting.
And we have two very large rooms, and one we kind of have the library, and the other is like an event room and where some of our exhibits are. And of course, it costs money to maintain a presence. And so some of the donations that we get will go for that. And we have a huge collection of Titusville and Titusville area artifacts.
And such a rich history.
Oh, yes. And they have to be properly maintained, which means buying acid-free boxes and acid-free folders for photographs and so on. So it does take a lot of money just to do those things. And one thing I would like to mention is that we are purely a volunteer organization.
Right.
We do not have a paid person at all. So everything that's done is done by volunteers. And we're very lucky to have, I would say, 3 people who are very well versed in historic things. So we kind of have a team of experts, which is very nice.
They're not only versed, but they're educated in that manner.
Yes.
What are the degrees?
Well, I'm not sure what the degrees are, but I know one of them is in historical houses. And,
architecture.
And architecture, right. And I'm not sure, one of them is the librarian. Well, she teaches library science at Clarion.
Okay.
And she is doing the digitizing of the I'm trying to think of the Woodlawn Cemetery.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yes,
And she has worked on over at Conneaut Lake, or one of, I forget which one of those, but it's right around the lake there someplace.
Yeah, because we have the Conneaut Lake Area Historical Society as well. We have a new Canandaigua Lake Historical Society. So there really is a rich history here that needs to be preserved.
Oh, yes.
And so much of it is volunteer driven.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you have a concerted group of people who are dedicated to these things, you can get things done.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm impressed because one of the things we want to see from this process is, especially the volunteer-led organizations, to build their capacity fundraising-wise. And so this, we hope, is an opportunity for them to, reach out to people, remind them that, these things just don't happen.
No.
It takes all of us doing a little bit of the heavy lifting, a few dollars from everybody to reach those goals. And
it's nice, for example, that we are in the park side.
Yeah.
But by the same token, the temperatures in the winter and the temperatures in the summer, with a building of that size, with the ceilings where they are, it takes a lot to keep them comfortable enough for people to visit.
Yeah.
Right.
And we do offer classes for people. Many of them are free classes. And we do have a library with many, many resource books, and people are welcome to come and do research there. We're open on Wednesdays and Fridays from 9 to noon, and on Saturdays from 10 to 4. And we also have the option, if somebody comes and those hours don't work, we can do by appointment. But we do have a lot of resource materials for people to use for research. And we, let's see, I think there was something else. Oh, we have offered programs like this year we did one on Ida Tarbell. And Bill Moore, who is a member.
Yeah, I know Bill. He's great.
And he wrote a cookbook where he collected recipes from early Titusville ladies who cooked all sorts of things.
Primarily, it was the ladies of the Methodist Church, the ladies of the Presbyterian Church, the Ladies' Aid Societies.
Okay, yeah.
And so he put them into a book. And so he talked about that too, and that's really interesting. Actually, the recipes that Bill put together are being used for the oil boom dinner at Drake Well Museum in November.
Oh, wow.
We had one event last year, and it was so well received that we decided to do it again this year. And we're using that as a fundraiser to raise funds for David Weber's scholarship at Drake Well.
Oh, cool.
So we kind of work together, and that's a good thing too.
Well, we've recently joined with back and forth the library here, and which gets us onto the
genealogical services that they're offering,
and the Drakewell Museum and the Historical Society as a gathering group to communicate between each other, and ties on the websites for all of them.
And that's a lot what we've been talking about, is how we're all joining together to make this a vibrant region, to remember the history, to support the young people who are here, and make sure everyone's educated. But it takes all of us doing a little bit of that.
Oh, it does.
That brings it all together. And especially with you and the Historical Society, there are generations of people whose forebears grew up here, who have moved on to other places, who still have ties. And so the more we can do to reach out to those folks, get them to put a little bit of money towards these kinds of things, I think is all helpful. And so the more we can do to encourage people to share their stories and share how they're making an impact, the better.
This is all showing up too in the alumni news from Titusville High School, where they do get stories shared back and forth, and communication as to who needs what.
And we were talking to Tambra earlier, and and we're also seeing some people who move back and want to get more involved and learn about these things. So
well, actually, we moved back.
Okay.
Yeah, and we were in Erie County for a long time. We were both teachers there. I was in Northeast and Clark was in Mill Creek.
Okay.
And then after Clark retired, our daughter was in Titusville. She was the principal of the high school. And that's where I graduated from. I'm a Titusville girl.
Okay.
And
Your
so,
mother and dad both
and
graduated
my mom
from
and
there,
dad.
too.
Yeah, so we decided to move back to Titusville, or to move to Titusville rather, and it's been wonderful because Titusville is a wonderful place with lots of things to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I keep telling people too. I mean, there's if you think that there's nothing to do, you're not paying enough attention.
That's right.
And you need to visit the community calendar that's now at the the library is helping with too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Do you have any other questions?
No,
for us?
I just wanted to see if you've covered all the things on your list.
I did. I just wanted to mention again that when people come to use our library, we do not charge them for that.
But if they want to become members, that's also a good thing.
Yes, that is a very good thing.
There is a donation box there too.
Yeah.
We're always happy to have people become members.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean they have to come and do a lot of things. It simply means that they are supporting us in what we do, and we appreciate that support.
Well, and I know you've got a lot of great people. I know Margaret Feely's been she's been trumpeting all over the place about all the great work that you've done.
Yep.
You guys are great ambassadors, and it's just great to see everyone working together to really make this a vibrant place. So
It is.
keep up the good work. We appreciate it, and hopefully you guys will reach your goal. You're more than halfway there, and
I
so
hope so. I hope
things
so.
are looking really good. All right, thanks again, and we're going to finish up. Luke, how much has been raised so far through Crawford Gives today? And we've reached about $380,000, a little more. I think we're well on track to beating last year's figures, so that's good.
I see 1,800 there.
18 total gifts for this year, and I think 1920 is the number that sticks in my head from last year.
That sure looks like
so I think
that sure looks like it's going to get beaten.
Yeah, so
That
we're
looks
hoping
good.
for a lot. Again, it's all a lot of small gifts really does raise the
It
total
does,
level
yeah.
for the program. So. Again, and all this money gets passed right back to our nonprofit organizations, more than 170 of them in the county.
Wow, I didn't realize
yeah,
that.
so and it's everything from your little baseball programs to your hospitals and everything else in between. So we appreciate everything that you guys do and everything else that everyone in the viewing audience does. And thank you again for your time, and thank you to Luke Rio and the Lightning Strike Stream TV team for having us this morning and into the afternoon. And we look forward to more. If you need help, feel free to give us a call at 814-336-5206 or email us. Go to the Crawford Gives website and get more information, and we can help facilitate your charitable gift this year. And thank you again to the Halls for coming out. We'll see you again next year, if not sooner.
Okay.
All right.
It
Thanks
should
again.
be sooner.
Thanks again, everybody.